Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with Real Deal Talk. Oh, man, that's good.
I feel like something just started.
Let's go.
That's so good.
The audience in here, such a great audience.
Incredible.
Oh, man, incredible. This early
It
in the
actually
morning.
impacts you. It actually it wakes some up.
Yes. So speaking of waking up, ladies and gentlemen, today is a very special day because we have a celebrity in the house, okay? And he's an actual doctor. We've got a doctor in the house, folks. So this man I met through Awaken Church, specifically, we can call it the Pathfinder program, maybe. It was what the final real connection might be, right? And his name is Dr. Brian Reiswig. He is a licensed marriage and family therapist. Got that right. So, ladies and gentlemen, the official introduction of Dr. Brian Reiswig.
Incredible, man. I'm so... The applause, Hampton. I'm so humbled to be here.
Come on.
This is amazing.
So I wish I could show you my original. So I had when I started the podcast a few years ago, and it birthed from the Awaken Pathfinder apprenticeship.
Wow.
During my apprenticeship season, and I immediately the people that I met at Awaken Church, I started there with my guest list, right? So I wrote out this list of about 100 people. So there's 100 people on the quote unquote guest / wish list. And along the way, the list has been growing, and you have been on this list since pretty much the first year I met you, which is you got to Awaken when? Which year? 22, 23?
Yeah, so I had, and I can say this because they've disclosed this publicly many times. I had the honor of having Dr. Matt Hubbard and Pastor Michaela Hubbard as my clients maybe 8 or 10 years ago we started. And it was probably 7 or 8 years ago that they started to bring me in to guest teach. And so I got to build these incredible relationships with the leaders and the people of Awaken for maybe 4 or 5 years. And then it was about 3 years ago that my wife and our family moved over and we're full-time. I mean, Awaken was already our family.
Yeah.
But
Right.
About 3 years ago.
And so speaking of which, folks, let me plant the seed here. So we're going to get into some really good nuggets today with marriage, relationships, conflict resolution. Give me some other buzzwords of what we're going to – I can't wait to hit on all this stuff because the most thing that fascinates me the most is the dynamic between a husband and a wife, and how do you make that last? How do you start the foundation of a marriage so that it's gonna last along the way?
Yeah, man. I like to tell people, man, there's no such thing as marriage problems. There's only me problems, and now we're married. And so when we think about like healing in our marriages, healing our relationships with another person, it's really about healing me.
That's it.
The more I have undealt with stuff in my ego, in trauma is a huge issue in marriage. I didn't realize becoming a marriage therapist because I came in knowing, like in the graduate school to my master's program, this is probably 15 years ago, 16 years ago. I came in knowing that I wanted to work specifically with couples, even though the licensure, right? Like you can work with a massive spectrum of different kinds of patients. I came in knowing, because my desire to become a therapist came out of my own crisis in marriage. I didn't realize coming in, I wanted to work with couples. That means I'm really going to have to develop an expertise in addiction and compulsion, in trauma, and in attachment in order to help people heal their marriages really deeply. So those are the 3 areas that I probably have the highest expertise in: addiction or compulsion, trauma, and what we call attachment, which is the bioneurological mechanism of bonding to another person, and how that's really a reflection of God in our nervous system. Yeah.
Incredible already. Yeah. Like I never even thought about it this way. So what you're saying is every single marriage is about each person healing themselves.
Oh yeah. Your marriage is not about, you two having this like epic Hollywood love story. Your marriage, God designed marriage to rescue our personal identity, our personal ego, our personal like mental, emotional, and psychological health, right? He designed it to rescue us, to pull us out of our own wounds. Man, when we see people who walk around with a lot of false bravado, right?
Yeah.
Because we got amazing people at our church
Yep.
who have bravado, but it's healthy. it's ego checked bravado, right? It's comes from a place of wholeness. They're not trying to prove anything. They just really have a lot of joy, and they enjoy the kind of stimulus of the hustle in life. But when you have a lot of unchecked kind of ego-based bravado, there's no such thing as, pride is not a core sin in my mind. This is, I'll just own that I'm venturing into like theological territory right now. We talk about pride as like a root sin. I don't think pride is ever a root sin, because it's the elevation of ourself in our own life, elevation of our own importance, our own superiority around the people around us or around God. It's always rooted in insecurity. It's always narcissism at its core, at its root, is a wound of shame and insecurity. Now we've like somebody who's like what we would describe as a narcissist, somebody who's like so scaffolded, they've so like built up a false self around that shame that they can't even access it anymore. But that's what marriage wants, man. Marriage becomes this mirror that gets up close and personal. It's in your face. You can't escape it. Every other relationship in my life, I like to think I can generally keep at arm's length if I wanted to.
If you want to.
I can show up even to something super intimate like men's prayer on Tuesday morning, where we're 5:30 in the morning, and the purpose of showing up there is to get really real. I can show up there if I want to, and I can put on a front, and I can never lie. I can never say something dishonest, and I can still make it look like I'm doing awesome.
Right.
And build great relationships or a great sense of like surface connection. You can't do that in marriage, because they go to sleep next to you, they wake up next to you, they see your good days, they see your bad days. And marriage is this crucible. And I love that he also made like the same relationship, which is the most kind of intensely engineered for our discomfort so we can grow, is also the most gratifying and pleasurable relationship in our life too, when it's healthy. So yeah, I like to think marriage is not about you. It's not about stroking your ego. It's actually about rescuing you from your ego.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Oh man, we're going to get
I
down.
love it.
We're going to get down and dirty, should I say?
Come on.
A little
come
bit.
on. Yeah.
It's going to get a little
marriage
dirty.
gets dirty.
It gets a little dirty. And so okay, before I did, because I'm going to dig into your backstory, because we need to know how does someone become a doctor? Like, how did this whole journey begin? But there's a question that came to my head right away. What are the percentages right now of what's the divorce percentage? 50% in our country?
About 51%.
51%. Now, I've talked about this a lot. Let me see how you feel about it. That's the people that actually got divorced.
Go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the actual percentage
Oh my gosh, of fatalities?
of marriages that are basically failures but just haven't gotten the divorce?
Dead marriages.
Dead marriages.
But they keep the patient alive in a coma.
Correct.
Right? And they go through maybe, how tragic is that? Go 20, 30 years of
For the kids, whatever.
Yeah, for the bank account, for the kids, for the thing. Man, that's hard to say. I don't have a stat on that.
I have publicly said 75 to 80%.
Man, I wouldn't argue with that. Because of the couples that come to see me, I would say the percentages that come in really thriving, really healthy, looking to grow, looking to like, like I think the Hubbards are a great example, right? They are a thriving couple. They have an incredible marriage, and they still check in with coaches and counselors and do these things. That percentage is like
10? 5?
Less than 10. I would say like 5%.
5%
of my census is people like that. 95% of it are people who either come in knowing full well we are limping, or they come in and they say, man, we're doing all right. We just have we want to learn some communication skills. That's the buzzword. That's what everybody's comfortable with communication skills. And then you realize after maybe 3 sessions, you're like, you're not doing okay. Like, you've got some deep wounds that you've gotten really good. You've gotten comfortable with them living in the house, right? Like you've gotten comfortable. We just don't go there in the marriage. And then you realize, all right, well, I don't know how to help you guys thrive with these injuries. So if that's what you're looking for, I'm probably the wrong guy. I'm sure there are like relationship coaches out there who will teach you like surface level communication skills. Go find them. They're probably cheaper than me. But if you, what I do is I help us go deep, and I help us really like heal the whole person, right? Like we want to heal the whole marriage. So here's a real life scenario. Like a couple will come in, and you'll be working with them, and you'll just sense like, ooh, there's something not in the room, right? Like there's something you're not saying. And then maybe in the second or the third somebody will allude to it or the thing that happened or the thing in our past. And of course, like your radar goes, do, right? Tell me about that right there. And they say, oh, we don't want to talk about that. And you're like, oh, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to save you a ton of financial, emotional investment, a lot of time driving in the car. If you don't want to go there, that's fine. I honor that. But I'm probably a really bad investment because that's all I care about now. Because I know the thing that we avoid controls us. The thing that we avoid owns us. And if what you want is connection, the kind of connection where we can go out and we can get hit with life, right? Stresses can happen and we don't turn against each other and we don't go to a place where we feel alone and hopeless. That kind of resilience is based on a really clear and open and honest channel between us that's grounded in reality. It means like, doesn't mean that we haven't gone through hard stuff.
Can you give me some examples?
Yeah. It doesn't mean that we haven't gone through hard stuff. Sarah and I, we had to heal from infidelity. That's one of the hardest things to heal from.
Yeah.
But we have so faced that monster. We've so faced that chapter of our life that seriously, when Sarah might have a hard day or she sees a message on Instagram or something triggers a little bit of that old anxiety, I love it when she comes to me and she's like, oh, I'm feeling that thing. I'm like, babe, thank you so much. That chapter of our story has no power over us. And so now when it comes up, it literally immediately converts into connection, right? Like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful that you came to me. And so of course I let you know me. And we're able to reassure that place where there used to be an injury to the degree that Sarah is afraid to bring it up or to the degree I can't tolerate her bringing it up.
Right.
That thing owns our marriage.
Yes.
It's superior.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh man, we're getting down here.
Come on, man. We're going straight for the.
I love this.
I expect nothing less from you, JD.
Come on, this happens sometimes because I don't have any format. I dig into backstory. We let the flow, the Holy Spirit flow from there. Period.
Amazing. Yeah.
But I'm already dying to these. This is fascinating. Okay, so I want to go further here already with this. So with this is so profound. Because already in the first 10 minutes here, this is completely new to me, realizing, oh, wow.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
This isn't about trying to vibe. This is I got to get rid of my ish.
Come on, let's go. That's awesome, man. Yeah.
But what is it? But okay, so here's my next question. Then we'll go to the backstory. All right, ready?
Okay.
So how do you do this? Are all your sessions with them together, or do you have to break up, don't you? And
what's the process?
Yes, because you can't do. A lot of times they're not comfortable going there talking about this thing together.
Yeah.
Don't you have to go one-on-one sometimes, then come back together?
Sometimes we do. So we always our first 3 sessions with a new couple is really standard. They come in together because I want to. You start building trust with somebody immediately, right? So I want to build trust with them together.
Okay.
I don't want to build trust with one and not with the other. Somebody that the other person's going to come into an uncomfortable territory. So we start together, and then the next 2 sessions 2 and 3, I meet one time with them one-on-one.
Okay.
Help me go deep to your family of origin. Tell me a little bit about how you learned to do closeness. Tell me a little bit about the concerns that you might have about your relationship, things that might be sensitive or hard to bring up in front of the other person, right? Let's just get an initial map as we venture into this work. But after that, I really try and protect conjoint space.
Yeah.
So sometimes there are needs. Sometimes we make exceptions to that. For the most part, if there are individual needs, somebody has a really kind of sensitive and reactive trauma in there, so we can't even just opening that door, they go into this really activated state, and that might mean anger, that might mean they break down into shame. We're going to try and make the individual space another therapist, so that we kind of protect Brian's office is where we get real together. Something I have found is that with just a little bit of support, it's actually a lot more helpful to know the bad news than it is to be protected from it, right? If my wife is ambivalent, they're uncertain about the future of our marriage. They have thoughts I don't know if I want to be in this marriage anymore. The other spouse can already feel it. So naming it, maybe there's I can never tell them this because it would devastate them. Bro, they can already sense this. Yeah. You just haven't given language to what they're feeling. So what we do is we offer some support so we can go to these hard places, because now that we can name it, we can decide whether or not we agree with the thing. So often we carry fears and we carry uncertainty and we carry really toxic beliefs. We carry them around unspoken because they feel dangerous, but by protecting them, or I should say that by not talking about them, we protect them. It's when I one of the hardest conversations years ago. I remember kind of like we're digging into stuff, me and Sarah, and I think I was trying to name something I had never named before, and I named it really wrong. I remember basically what I did was there in this moment is like I've never been able to name this feeling that I have where, man, when in our kind of crazy cycle that we go to, I get defensive and I withdraw and I start to blame shift, and she gets really kind of critical and she gets controlling. We do this thing together that's really ugly. And I remember in this moment, I didn't have the words for it. So I was like, man, it's like we've never been able to acknowledge that in our marriage, you've been emotionally abusive. And I said that to Sarah. And as soon as I said it out loud, it's something I had carried inside of me for years. As soon as I said it out loud, I was like, I actually don't believe that. Now, I had to like take the risk of that impacting Sarah, and it did. And it took some time for us to like, for me to process out loud so Sarah could go with me on the internal growth journey. We often try and protect our spouse from the internal growth journey.
Yeah.
They can sense something's going on over there. We want to bring them with them. We want to bring them with us. So like letting her, as I say that out loud, I think I didn't say that right. I think I've been feeling that, but really it's this, and really it's that, and it comes from this. And now we can heal together. And my belief system about the relationship, about myself and about Sarah, it gets tested by being witnessed by the other person, right? And we often, and I think this happens a lot in couples counseling, I think we often want to protect the other spouse from the reality of what's going on inside their loved one, instead of saying, man, we want them to have all the cards on the table. We want, I mean, if the other person, if this woman's husband is considering divorce, would that be hard for the wife to hear that? Of course, it'll be devastating.
Yeah.
But it'd be much healthier for her to know, okay, this is my reality right now, and now I can respond accordingly. Maybe I have to protect my heart a little bit, or maybe I have to express how much I want. Maybe he doesn't know I'm all in this, and I need to tell him like I really want this. But for that purpose, we try and really protect conjoined space, at least in my office.
Yeah.
We make exceptions to it, but that's our priority. Yeah.
And so the way you do it is you do. How do you get? And obviously, I'm sure all your business is referred to you.
Yeah, I think we're 100% referral.
Can you even take on new clients right now?
No, we're waitlisted.
You're
That's why we have a staff, right? Like I have really brilliant couples therapists that I train and we consult on a regular basis. I'm so excited about. We have a member of my team named Lauren. She's like becoming just one of the most incredible couples therapists. And what she does is she'll record her sessions with couples. She has the same what we call postgraduate, like out of school advanced training that I do in attachment. And then she brings those into me and we work through them together. And so by that method, we're able to like, when somebody comes in real need and they want to work with Brian and say, okay, you could work with Brian, but that might be 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
If you're in a place of real need, Brian supervises these other incredible therapists and you can get in with them next week. So yeah.
How many do you have right now on the team?
We have two.
Probably
planning on adding another one within the next month or two.
So let me ask you this. So since you've been at Awaken, actually officially at Awaken, is this what's now forcing your growth and scaling?
Yeah, I would say the demand has been there because as soon as in the beginning of my career, I was just so obsessed with becoming really good at what I did. I really wanted to be effective. I was so obsessed with that. I didn't give any time or energy. It's very irresponsible. I didn't give any time or energy to building a business, right? Which is what a practice is. If I want to actually provide for my family, I don't want to just be a good therapist. I also want to be a good business person. And I really neglected that. And then I got the privilege of having a few key clients, some patients who had a big exposure, and they talked about me and I got my name out, and all of a sudden, this is probably 8 or 10 years ago, all of a sudden I have a wait list.
Wow.
And I just completely put my head in the sand for 5 or 6 years, just completely buried it in the sand. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to just focus on doing really good work. I can always increase my fees a little bit so I can kind of grow my income. I can do these other things, but I'm just going to focus on doing the best work possible. And it was probably 4 years ago that God just confronted me and told me how incredibly anxious. I'm doing this in fear. Yeah. I'm not doing this because I'm obsessed with doing good work. I'm doing this because I'm scared to let go of control. And so he really just challenged me. And he said, Brian, you can reach a lot more people if you grow a team. That's why Sarah and I are actually in the process of developing digital products to reach even more couples with really good
Great.
resources.
Love it.
But it was probably about 4 years ago that God just confronted me and said, this is fear-based. The fact that you're not growing a team, the fact that you're not training other therapists is because you don't want to let go of control. And it pushed me over the edge, and we opened Cardinal Point Therapy about 4 years ago. Actually, 4 years ago this month. And we started growing a team and training other therapists. And we had the privilege of like raising some up and sending them on. I think just last month, Natalie Blue, who's a brilliant therapist, known pretty well in our community, she just launched her own. So we're proliferating, right? We're saying the marriage and family field. I think mental health in general is like one of the most valuable fields, but man, is it saturated with like weirdos. It's saturated with really bad care. Care that's just obsessed with like all empathy and no truth, right? Like it's all just, I'm going to comfort you in your pathology. I'm going to make you feel better about it. I'm going to give you coping strategies so you can continue in your pathology, but I'm never actually going to like confront you with truth so that you change and grow and break through. So
it's scary.
It's scary, man.
Yeah, because most of these people doing this, they're just as messed up, if not even more themselves.
If not more.
Now
they're messed up, and they're equipped with a vocabulary that makes them sound really healthy and superior, which is super dangerous.
Yes.
Nobody's more dangerous emotionally than an unhealthy therapist because we're versed in the skills and the words of health. And you can't out jujitsu us in verbally, right? Because we're really trained in that. But if I'm operating in undealt with trauma and really toxic beliefs, I will be able to talk to you in a way that makes you feel like you're the crazy one. So yeah, you need to find a good therapist. I'm not saying this to scare people away from therapy. I believe in therapy, but you need to find a good one for sure.
And so did you say, did I catch this correctly? You said that there's a time where if you have a couple, will you actually send one of them, you said, to another therapist?
Yeah.
Like while you're still doing your group stuff,
Yeah.
they need certain help with a certain area that you can't help with, and you'll send them off? Refer them to somebody?
It would most effectively be dealt with in a space that's really dedicated to that. So like this happened just like when we bring on new team members, one of the things we're looking for is actually other specializations. So I know how to train a therapist in attachment work, marital attachment work. I know how to do that really well. But there's a really brilliant methodology of working with trauma called PBSP, Purple Boyden Trauma Therapy. And so when I was interviewing Lauren, who's one of our therapists on our team, she was trained in PBSP, which is a really powerful way to interact with your own trauma in a really really dynamic and productive way. And so I was like, oh man, I want you on our team because not only can I send couples to you, but now when I'm working with a couple and some really acute trauma comes up that's impacting the couple's work, I can send you the individual, which I did that last week. Now the wife, let's say in this case, has somebody that she can really attack from a place of personal ownership. She can take ownership of this trauma, and then that resilience and that capacity that grows there, she can bring that into the couple's work, and they have that new level of breakthrough.
Love that.
So yeah,
I love
it's a collab. We call it a treatment team.
Treatment team.
Yeah,
love it. And so when you get a referral, what's the first thing that happens? So you does one of your PAs talk to them first to kind of pre-qualify?
That's right. My assistant Dana is going to be the first person somebody who calls Cardinal Point. They're going to talk to Dana, and Dana's
That's the name of your company's Cardinal Point.
Cardinal Point Therapy.
Okay,
that's right. They're going to talk to Dana. She's amazing. She's been my PA for 5 years.
5 years, okay.
Almost 6 years.
Yep.
She's really incredible. And they're going to talk to her, and she's going to tell her that she's going to get a sense of the work they're wanting to do. She's going to connect them to the right therapist, and they're going to start what we call like an intake process. I'm sure it's the same as going to any other kind of medical, you have just those intake forms, you submit them, you get billing worked out, and then you schedule an intake appointment, which is where you like meet with the therapist for the first time. And the first thing you should do anywhere, I don't care if you're going to Cardinal Point or somewhere else, the first thing you should do with the therapist always, as you're like describing what brought you in, you need to set goals. What am I here to accomplish? Because therapy is one of those places where it's just super easy to get so lost in the woods of feel good, just like processing hard stuff and being comforted.
Yeah.
I think it really undermines my field when and so much of the field, I mean, I wasn't like really planning on talking about this, but so much of the field of therapy is saturated with a lot of insecure counselors, therapists who like, they don't know where their next client's going to come from. They don't have a lot of confidence in themselves as a skill. And so what happens is you might go see a therapist, and instead of them being really responsible and saying, hey, let's set clear goals, let's measure how you get towards those goals. When you accomplish those goals, we're going to call it out and we're going to ask, is our work done, or do you have new goals? They're not going to do any of that.
No.
They're just going to say, let's just keep talking, because they're like, they don't want to lose the meal ticket. And you're like, oh man, it's infuriating. So what you're going to do at Cardinal Point is, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to start to get to know the therapist, and you're going to say, this is what's bringing me in, and this is where I want to go. Yeah.
It's funny because that's one of the things I was actually going to ask you is because there's people in my life that are therapists.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at them and I can tell this is not someone that I think would help me run my life, because they are a mess. And I'm like, how are they employed? Like, that's the first thing I'm thinking, like, who is hiring this person thinking that they're going to help them? And I was going to say, how many of these therapists are just stringing them along? Because most people, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, don't have someone they can confide in.
Yeah. Yeah. That's real. I think we have, most people have people that want them to confide.
Yeah.
Like you have people, most people have people in their life that say, oh, of course you can confide in me. Right. But most people don't have people they can confide in that are healthy enough to move themselves out of the way.
Correct.
To be a healthy sounding board.
Yes.
To listen,
healthy sounding board.
Most people don't have that.
No.
Yeah.
So when they find one that's supposedly, right?
Checks all the
boxes.
Yeah.
They've got the title.
Yeah.
They got to be healthy.
And it feels really good to process.
Feels really good.
Yeah.
To get this
They're
off my chest.
Validating.
And so then they can exploit that and just keep going without a goal.
Yeah. And I really don't think 99% of I don't think there's any sort of malicious intent, right? Like, they're not consciously exploiting. They just are not aware of the fact that, like, I've literally sat in treatment team rooms where this is like probably 12 or 13 years ago. I was just kind of in the beginning of my own license, and I was sitting in the same room where I was supervised before I got licensed, and the supervisor in the room, like, basically one of the other supervisees said, hey man, we've been having like a lot of the same conversations with this client again and again, and things are going really well. I was like, should I suggest that they terminate? Should I suggest that they move on? And the supervisor, I would never tell somebody that they should move on. And you just realize, she doesn't even see it, that what she sees, like, how am I going to replace that fee? That's what she's
right.
But she probably isn't even aware of that. So I do think, because there's a lot of scarcity in mental health. I remember the first large-scale mental health conference I ever attended. This is while I was still associate. This is years and years ago. I remember walking in. This one happened to be for eating disorders. IADEP was the organization. I remember walking in and realizing within just a couple of minutes, man, everybody here is postured up.
Oh, right, yeah.
Everybody here is insecure. And it was the first time that I think I realized, my field, the field of mental health, is actually a really insecure field. I think part of it is, unlike something like engineering or sales where you have really concrete metrics that tell you you're successful, mental health is a soft science. And what that means is we have the metrics that we use that tell us we're successful are incredibly subjective.
Yes.
And for most people, I think the most concrete metric they have is, does the client like me? And then the other thing that's really hard about it, not only is it subjective, but it's very alienated. So most therapists, once they get licensed, they go into this little cocoon where nobody else sees their work, and they don't get sifted or challenged by other therapists. One of the things I love, man, I love when I get to consult with, like, some of San Diego's rad. We have some of the best kind of marital minds literally in the world. Dr. Lisa Palmer is a San Diego resident, and she's one of the architects of emotionally focused couples therapy. She's brilliant. I'm going to be interviewing her really quickly. And I love the opportunity when I get to bring videotape, particularly videotape of me sucking, like videotape where I don't nail it, where I just like, I should have done that differently. Bringing that in front of somebody like Dr. Lisa or another therapist that I trust, and be like, what do you see me missing? What do you see me doing? That's how we stay strong. And because therapists are insecure, because it's massive scarcity, and because it's so subjective, what they do is they pull away from that. And they might spend decades literally just having their little tiny private practice.
Yes.
Nobody else sees. Clients come in who have no other reference point. They don't know what good therapy looks like. And they feel really supported. They feel like, we're making sense out of my pain, but we don't actually go anywhere. And and then it stays insulated, and there's no external feedback that says, hey, is this the quality of care that we need to be providing?
Wow.
So.
Oh, we're exposing the industry. This
Yeah,
is
I
great.
wasn't. That was not. This wasn't like a plan I had, but it's something I'm passionate about, man. It makes me mad when because it undermines my field.
Yes,
you know what I mean. It undermines my work. Is I know that I have to compete with the last 3 therapists you worked with. Who, man, we came in every week and we just talked about our conflict and we felt a little bit better, but nothing changed. You're like,
nothing changed.
How do I convince you that
do you go there like is that one of the first things is have you been to therapists before?
One of my first session one, I'm going to ask, what have you done in the past? Have you ever worked with somebody what do you understand about the mental health field? Because they might say, I've never worked with somebody, but my mom saw a therapist, most of my teenage years, and she was super abusive or manipulative. You're like, okay, well, let's talk about that, because that's going to undermine my trust in the field.
Right.
If my mom's seen a therapist, she feels great about herself as a mom, and I feel super manipulated as a teenager. So that's one of the first questions in the intake. Yeah.
It's funny because I like to inform and educate my mattress clients as to the racket that is the mattress industry.
Wow.
On why all the stores have big name brands, because the commission-based environment needs a quick sale to get you because they can't work with their next client until they're done with you. So they have Tempur-Pedic, Stearns & Foster, Beauty Rest. Everybody that's listening right now knows all these names.
Yep.
iComfort, Heirloom, go down the list, especially Tempur-Pedic. And they're like, oh, yeah, you know what? That's right. They did show me that one. Of course they did, because they get their highest commission, and they get you out fast.
Wow.
They're not there and their lights are really bright because they want you uncomfortable. The lights are so bright, it's almost like the light in this podcast studio. It's so bright that you want out.
Interesting.
My store, you can't even see in there. People walk in, I can't see anything. Yeah, that's right, because it's
feels like my office out there.
It's an intimate purchase.
Yeah.
You wouldn't mean to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is, I love educating, so this is along the same vein as you, educating us and the listeners as to, hey, what to look out for and what's out there. Like, it's scary, really scary. So, insecurities. I'm hitting one more. Then we'll go in backstory.
Love it.
I'm going to say that the whole interview. All right, then we'll do the backstory. How many freaking people, like what is the level? Because I'm dealing right now with my, by the way, my daughter, 14. She's had her first boyfriend. Okay, first boyfriend.
Yeah.
The I love you came out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Big moment.
Big moment.
First I love you.
7 weeks in, and it's already done.
Yeah.
Sorry, and if she finds out I said this publicly, she's going to probably be horrified. And it's insecurities everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go deep into this because I don't want to out my homie, because I really like this kid. But so insecurities, and of course teenage years.
Yeah.
The oh my gosh. Okay, so human beings, adults that you see, what all of us right now walking around planet Earth, or so let's say our country, how many of us are insecure?
Oh man, I hope all of us can feel some insecurity.
You
right?
hope?
I hope, yeah.
Okay, give it to me.
I hope I'm taking enough risk in my life.
Okay, give me that.
That I'm not in a place of comfort and not in a place of total confidence.
I love that.
Right? Like I think one of the things that is so kind of toxic about this movement towards emotional safety. And obviously as a therapist, I take emotional safety very seriously. But this movement towards an expectation in my life of feeling emotionally safe at all times, that is so dangerous. Because what it does is it sets me up to say that any place where I feel insecure, any place where I feel like a little bit of that imposter syndrome, that means something's gone wrong. You shouldn't be treating me in this way. I shouldn't feel this. Or I shouldn't be in this situation. I shouldn't feel this. One of the places that should be in a healthy sense emotionally unsafe is like a college campus. Why? Because a young person should go onto a college campus and be shaken. You should be tested, right? Like your thoughts and your ideas should be challenged. And what we're teaching, particularly young people, Gen Alpha, the millennial generation, Gen Z, they're all at the front lines of this, is that when you get emotionally disrupted, something's gone wrong. Instead of saying when you get emotionally disrupted, you're in the growth zone, right? Like how do we recode this so that when I feel disrupted by this? So your question was,
I love that.
How many people are insecure? How many people are pathologically insecure? Unfortunately, a lot. And I'm not advocating for the kind of insecurity that debilitates. It actually impairs my ability to show up in my life, take risk, enjoy who I am, enjoy connection with other people, believe in myself. That level of insecurity is obviously incredibly prevalent, I would say, easily more than 60 or 70% of the population. But
That's an unhealthy
level
of
insecurity. What I don't want to do is send the message that, like, if I feel some imposter syndrome, because I feel it every single
Yeah, I
time
feel it all
somebody
the time.
asks me to step on a platform. I'm like,
Yeah.
what am I doing here? I don't belong here. You have the best, like at our church, we are so fortunate to go to one of the best churches, I think, on earth, one of the most incredible dynamic libraries of speakers. And they keep asking me to teach every couple of months. I'm like, who do you think that I am? That level of imposter syndrome, I hope, wakes me up and says, this just means that you're doing something brave. This just means that you're like trusting God to take you out of the comfort zone, to use you in bigger ways, to grow me. And if that ever gets comfortable, I hope there's something on the other side of that makes me really uncomfortable. So there's two sides to insecurity. Yeah.
And so, by the way, I didn't mention that in the beginning, but Dr. Brian here is one of our preachers. I'm calling you as he laughs. You give messages on the pulpit.
I teach from the platform. That's true. That's true.
That's true.
By the incredible grace and just love of our leaders, they keep bringing me back, even though to some degree I don't fully understand why. Yeah, I get to do that, and it's an incredible privilege. Yeah, I think it's such a. I mean, what better? I couldn't, like, it won me over
Because you're not a pastor, quote unquote.
Yeah, I was actually I was ordained when I was in seminary. So
Okay. You were.
I got my master's degree, which is a clinical degree. I got it in a seminary because I wanted to spiritually integrate that with my faith in God. And I got ordained when I was in, but my goal was never to be a pastor. So I am not a staff pastor. I'm not a vocational pastor. I get to, pastor people as a counselor to a degree.
Right.
But you're right. I am not a pastor. And yet, just by the incredible grace and love from the leaders, that I love it about our church, because not just that, like, you and I get to specifically go to, let's say, just as an example, our campus, where we have two pastors who not only seek their own emotional health, but for the good, the well-being, the growth, the breakthrough of the people under them as pastors, they bring their emotional health journey, their marital journey onto a stage.
Yeah, they do.
And say, like, guys, we're messy sometimes. And here's what we do. Here's what it looks like. And here's the resources that we use. This is how we get vulnerable. This is how we challenge ourselves, which I can't tell you countless the number of people who have come into my office who have said, I would never step foot in a therapist's office. But to hear Dr. Matt, Pastor Michaela say, this is something we do. I'm like, okay, if they do it, man, I totally respect them. They're entrepreneurs. They're lions. They're like go-getters. They're fire people. If they can do it, then this is something I would consider. Like, man, the permission that it creates is incalculable. Yeah.
It's funny because I was going to ask that question too, like, because he talks about it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, they'll talk about their ish right on stage in front of everybody. Like that morning, they were a drop down, drag out fight. Like, it was horrible. Like, I can't believe I made it here.
Literally been times where, like, they brought me in to do, we'll call it like a panel, like an interview, like we're doing a kind of Q&A. And they'll be up there, I'll be up there. We've done it many, many times. It's always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There are literally times where I'm like, we're not Q&A anymore. You guys are actually, like, this is real and it's happening right now, which I think is so cool, because they're not up there performing.
Right.
They're up there being really authentic people. Now, obviously, they have a foundation of health that allows that to be really productive, right? Like, if they were in a crisis place, it wouldn't be a productive thing, but they have such an incredible foundation, then that just sets people free to see it. Yeah.
And I've seen one of those panels where all of a sudden you're like, this is an actual session. Like, like
we just moved into work. Yeah. I remember at one point, like, Pastor
hold on,
Michaela,
let me build my. Hold on a second. Let me mark
data.
the time.
So, 45 minutes. Just build.
Let me text my PA to start the timer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they do, and it's great to hear, because they look on the outside like the perfect couple. They don't have any problems. They're just glorious. It's harmonious. Yay.
Yeah. You see their victory. You see all of this, like, overcoming and this incredible territory that they've taken. And it's easy for us to write a fictional story onto that says you don't have any problems. And then they come back at you with this incredible gift and says, we're also real people who are working it out. Every, what does Dr. Matt like to say? New level, new devil, right? Like, every level where you carry more responsibility, get a bigger house, a bigger mortgage, your business grows. You have multiple businesses, right? Like, the more you grow, it doesn't get easier.
No.
it gets harder. Your capacity has to expand,
Correct.
or you're just going to implode. And so they are willing to take people on the journey with them, which
Yeah.
is such a gift.
It is.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think it's true leadership.
True leadership.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. So, and he was my vessel to get to the church and ultimately to Jesus, Dr. Matt.
Wow.
It was a business collaboration that turned into me following him on Instagram. When I heard he was a pastor, I'm like, what? This guy's a pastor?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And then they defied the orders during COVID and said, no, we're worshiping. I said, oh, ooh, that's bold. And then I started seeing the leaders there, the fruit on their lives were like, whoa, okay, now we're talking. That was it. And he was our vessel.
I did not even realize until 2020 that I don't think I'd ever gotten to see really bold pastoral leadership before Matt and Jurgen and these leaders that were just brave to the degree that it was almost reckless.
Correct.
Courageous to a degree that it was almost reckless. You're like, hang the consequences. I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna keep the doors open.
Yep.
And I'm not gonna let these probably very corrupt government entities like decide whether or not people get access to the body of Christ. You're like, oh, I've actually never seen real leadership before. This is the yeah.
On the news, they had to get security. I mean, you thought you were walking into like a nightclub with security. It was crazy. Yeah, it was nuts. And they put it out there.
The guards,
armed guards.
You show up and like basically the police are parked outside, just waiting for an excuse. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the first day I walked in. It was in the heart of COVID, and the first thing in the lobby getting in there. By the way, do you want some water?
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
Hey, Tony, will you grab a water out of the fridge there? Yeah, thanks, brother. And there was no masks.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was wearing a mask.
Yeah.
It was I literally dropped to my knees in the lobby. It was the most liberating thing in the world. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
Good Lord, thank you. Because it was absurd, the damn mask thing.
It's insane. Yeah, it's not even empirically based. Yeah. It's crazy.
That literally drove me crazy. Not just that I had to wear one here and there, but seeing people wearing one like in their car.
Is that
walking down the street by themselves?
The most absurd thing you've ever seen? Wearing it alone in the car.
Alone
needs
in
to
the
be
car.
In the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders, right? Like wearing a mask alone in your car should be criteria in the DSM-5.
Like it was so traumatic for me to witness that, and then to watch people walking down the street by themselves with a mask. Like what? How? But then I think that's how crazy the brainwashing was.
Mm-hmm.
The programming.
If something gets normalized from the top down, it feels ridiculous. Like, have you seen those social experiments where they'll bring somebody into a room where people are sitting? They'll be in a waiting room and people will be sitting, and there'll be like 11 people and there's like 2 or 3 empty chairs and a new person who's the subject of the study. They walk in, they sit down, and then at a predetermined time, everybody stands up. No reason to.
Yeah.
They just all stand up, and that person they'll look around, they'll just stand. They have no idea what they're doing, and they'll go through that, and they'll just see how long they'll do it, and they'll do it basically in perpetua. Like when behavior, it doesn't matter how irrational it is. If behavior is normalized by everything I can see around me, my brain it betrays my own internal logic, and it says succumb to because the only thing that's reliable is the outside, right? And that's what happened during COVID. Is we had these completely irrational things, like how does this mask that the virus has the complete capacity to move through? How is that supposed? It doesn't even statistically hold up that this like people who wear this mask are less likely. You know, none of those things are there, but because it's been normalized,
and then to get the jab, I don't know. Here we go.
Yeah, this is another direction.
Yeah, another direction, but I don't know how we're getting on it. When it didn't actually prevent it.
Yeah. Well,
like, what the hell?
If you remember, man, we had a lot of people telling us it did. We had a lot of people saying that this is 95% effective. And then, obviously, you get these... It really takes years for those things to be tested.
Crazy.
That's what makes people like Pastor Jurgen so special is, 5 years later, a lot of people are willing to be like, that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's the real courage is the person who's before we have 5 years of data, who's willing to stand up and say, no, this doesn't stack up. Right. When everybody stands up in the room, they say, why are you doing that? they're willing to just go against the flow of the overwhelming tide. That's what real courage is.
That's
isn't it?
real courage. That's
what-
why we are at Awaken.
Yeah, same.
Period. End of story.
Same.
Because of the courage that I witnessed on the fly during this
On the fly,
absurd
unprecedented event.
pandemic.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm following that guy and this thing here because
Yeah.
this is what I'm thinking, and he's acting. He's doing it.
Yeah.
So let's just follow this
Yeah.
dude. Let's see where.
And I'll be honest, man, I didn't even know. I didn't know what the you see, like, I'm being influenced by influenced by the policy. I'm being influenced by my own intuition. I'm being influenced by people around me. If I was to be really honest, if you were to check in with Brian of 2020, I'd be like, I don't know I'm just gonna do my best. I probably ended up following our leaders because they were saying, I know what to do, because they stood up in courageous confidence. And they say, you know, we're probably not going to get everything perfect. We're probably going to make mistakes on the way, but we're going to stand up against ridiculous tyranny. We're going to stand up against absurd things. We're going to say no. We're not going to hold ourselves to some perfection standard where we're not allowed to make mistakes, but we're going to do our best and we're going to say no. I was like, okay, I can follow that.
Right.
I can follow that confidence.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so here we
Boom.
go. All right, let's start the interview now. Backstory. How old are you now?
Yeah, 42. I'll
42.
be 43 on Sunday.
Wow. Young buck. Young Bucky.
43 on Sunday.
Wow. How's it
Yeah.
feel to be mid 40s here?
Yeah, 43 is officially mid 40s,
It is,
right?
yeah.
I had a discussion.
You're over midlife. You're like on the second half of life.
I'm definitely midlife at 43.
Midway through the third quarter.
Third quarter, bro, that's a whole different. I think you got to cross the 50-yard line before you get to say third
I don't know.
quarter.
You go right from the fifth.
I mean, I'm going for the century mark, but yeah, it feels like
Well,
it's
if we're
definitely-
going all
there's a realization you have somewhere between, I think for a lot of guys, somewhere around 40, 41, where it finally registers. Midlife is this ethereal thing that exists off in the future.
Yeah.
It arrived yesterday.
Yeah.
But somewhere around 41, 42, I'm like, oh, I'm in my midlife. Right, that's happening right now.
Well, I mean,
Feels good.
technically, you're beyond midlife because if we're going by the expectations, the life expectancy is what 76, 77 for men. So you're actually midway through the third quarter at this point.
Okay, so if I live to 77, I'm curious what third.
And
Yeah,
so
I'm not gonna do the math.
and so here, me being in my mid 50s,
Come on.
I start doing the math when I add a teen, like 16 from now, I'll be 70. That's the most sobering thing that I've ever thought of in my entire life. Okay, we're off this topic. I can't even think about it. 16 away from 70.
That's amazing.
Because think about what you were doing 16 years ago. You can remember. It
Yeah.
wasn't that long ago.
Vivid.
It was fast.
Yeah, it doesn't even feel that long.
That
ago.
was, my wife and I have been together for 24 years.
Yeah.
So 24 years, 16 of that, we're in our 70s. Oh, my God. All right. Anyway, that's why I'm obsessed
Sober
with
you
wellness.
up.
Yes, sober. I'm sober as hell right now. So that's why I'm obsessed with wellness, biohacking, sleep, red light therapy, cryotherapy. That's why I'm obsessed with NAD+, glutathione, all the things of helping the anti-aging process.
Oh.
Because listen, Brian, you know this. The last 20% of everyone's life, for the most part, the very high percentage is a disaster.
Yeah.
You're hanging on for dear life.
The
You
descent.
can't function, the digestive system, physical abilities, your mind, go down the immune system. Biggest thing is the digestive system. It's just is all hell is breaking loose. And the last 20 is not good. It's not pleasurable, especially if you did short-term pleasure, did whatever you want, ate whatever you want, didn't exercise, drank lots of booze, eat crappy foods. Short-term pleasure, long-term pain.
Yeah.
It's gonna be painful. Painful. So it's not even like, oh, I'm going into the third quarter or fourth quarter, because the fourth quarter for most people, it's not pleasurable. It's really bad. Anyway, we're going bad. We're going a bad circle here. We're going down but think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's real.
It's real.
And it's literally that wisdom is represented.
It's real.
At a cellular level, right? Like short-term pleasure equals long-term pain.
Yep.
Short-term denial, short-term deferral of pleasure equals long-term
Pleasure. And short-term pain.
and short-term pain.
Short-term
Think
literally pain.
What happens when you do something like a cold plunge?
It's painful.
You send your body into a self-protective state.
Yep.
You deny you deny your endocrine system these pleasure hormones like endorphins and enkephalins and all these things we're craving. And what we effectively do is we take this like dopamine threshold that is jacked up way too high all of our life because of things like this and the availability of treats and just like all of these things that we use to numb. We deny our nervous system that dopamine, the enkephalins, for just a minute, and what happens immediately? Oh my gosh, the next 2 hours, you're in this kind of euphoric state. You're like, I can do anything, and you're focused, and you want to be productive, and it's something I think we've lost on like a nervous system level because the availability of immediate gratification, and then we, like you're saying, we see that represented over decades. The more I indulge in short-term pleasure, I'm going to pay for it in 16 years.
Badly.
Yeah.
Really badly.
Yeah. It gets ugly. It gets ugly at the end.
I've got my mom right now. She's got friends of hers across the country. They're in their 80s. She's in the hospital. They're in the hospital. I just don't know what's going on with mom. The woman is 81. She drinks alcohol every day. She's obese. What do you mean you don't know what's going on here? Of course she's sick. I can't believe she's lived this long. I'm sorry. Well, that's terrible. What do you want me to say? How does the human body last this long with alcohol going into our system every single day? Obesity, bad foods, not exercising, not walking.
Yeah.
Surprise. Yeah, of course she's in the hospital. Of course she's sick. Of course she's on meds right now. Anyway, all right, we're going down a rough patch here. Let's go. Let's get back. Okay, now we'll go back to the backstory. Okay. So 42, you said 43 this coming Sunday. All right, so where, born and raised, let's start there.
I was born and raised in mostly San Diego.
Oh, wow.
I grew up in South Park.
Really?
I went to McKinley Elementary.
Come on.
Really great place to grow up, man. It's people. I tell people like I grew up on University and I grew up on Adams Avenue, Normal Heights, that area.
Really?
And they're like, oh my gosh, man, that's such a hipster kind of woke area. And I'm like, man, it was really different 30 years ago. It was not like that. It was a really cool place. Like I grew up in an era. I think I'm probably Gen X, millennial, somewhere in that territory. I grew up in a time where it's like you went to play with your friends and you came home sometime around sunset.
Right.
Which I can't even fathom doing with my own kids. We used to just like hike through the canyons. We'd like hike from Normal Heights. We could get down into Mission Valley on foot because we knew how to navigate through the canyons. We'd play in like the homeless little shelters that would make up and get abandoned. There'd be needles everywhere. We're like, this is awesome, right? So I had a rad childhood. Grew up in San Diego, and then in
parents, both parents together the whole time. Give me the parents.
No, so first kind of like rough thing that I went through at 7 years old. My parents got divorced, and we did a really brief 6-month move to Northern California because my mom had family.
How many brothers
up
and
there.
sisters?
I have 2 sisters, an older sister and a younger sister. We've gone on the whole journey together. So we moved up to San Jose for about 6 months and then moved back, kept doing life in San Diego. But that was kind of the first.
And they divorced when you were 7.
They divorced at 7.
You kind of remember ish.
I can remember it. Yeah. I can remember, I definitely remember vividly being told that our family was changing. And I remember this.
Were you surprised? Were they getting along? Like, oh wow, what a surprise!
You know, that's such an interesting. Like, it's such a reflection of kind of a child brain. Is they're so wildly resilient that they kind of accept and normalize everything in real time. And so basically, what happened is like my mom wakes us up, kind of surprise wakes us up because I at the time I was completely. Kind of naive to the level of chaos and the level of violence I was living in. So she wakes us up, surprise, gets in the car. We go on a couple-week road trip. We just leave. Don't say goodbye to Dad. We just leave.
Really?
And then on like maybe the 3rd or 4th day of this road trip, we're walking on the beach somewhere kind of like up the coast a little bit. And she tells me and my sisters, like, we're not going back home. The marriage is ending. Our family is changing. And we just, without ever going back home, we just drove up to Northern California, and she kind of took refuge in my aunt's house, and we stayed there for about 6 months before we moved back down because in that 6-month period they were working out the details of the divorce and things like that. But my mom was legitimately scared, like, will this become a violent issue? You know what would happen? And I was pretty much buffered. I definitely saw like violent conflict. But I don't think it ever registered that things could be dangerous or that this. For a 7-year-old, 6-year-old, 5-year-old, it doesn't register like, oh man, it shouldn't be like this. So that's the first blow.
So he was violent. Is that what it was?
Dad was violent. I mean, to be fair, Mom and Dad were violent.
Yes.
They both had pretty chaotic anger. we moved back to San Diego, and my dad actually lived up in North County. I'm sorry. We lived down in, I think at that point we lived in Normal Heights.
And this was within a year?
This is within a year
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
divorce. And at that point, I probably saw my dad maybe once or twice a month. It was very estranged at that point.
Yeah.
And then...
Do you remember having a relationship with your dad before the divorce?
Yeah, it was, I think my dad passed away about 2 years ago. And I think in the last maybe 3 years of his life, I learned more about my dad and who he is than the previous 30.
Really?
I just like pursuing him, asking him questions. I learned story. One thing I didn't understand about my dad was the profound level of anxiety and the profound level of like a sense of responsibility that I think such a profound level of a feeling like, man, it's my job to keep everybody okay.
Yeah.
That it actually caused him to pull away and really disengage with everybody. I'm going to provide. I'm going to do all these things. There were stories that I think my dad protected me and my siblings from, like stories about his parents and stories about my family and hard things that my grandparents went through, that he never told us, that his wife, my stepmom, shared with us after he passed.
Wow.
And you're like, man, this is really helpful to know this, to know that like there was infidelity in my family line, and there were all these things that he kind of held up this candy-coated story about our family. And you're like, Dad, this doesn't line up with my life experience. This perfect kind of generational line, and then us, and there's all this chaos. It doesn't make sense. And then you learn these stories, and like, this actually does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
My dad saw this chaos and saw this pain in his family. He wanted to protect us from it, didn't know how. Ended up just like stepping way, way back, getting defensive, getting disengaged. His marriage falls apart. So yeah, that was a pretty profound couple of years, and then we lost him. And then even like the discovery and the learning about him continued after that, with like learning more stuff about my family.
Wow.
But that was the first one, 7 years old. And then at 13, as I'm moving from junior high to high school, my mom goes through her second divorce, which we went from San Diego. We weren't, we were like, we lived probably on the boundary of poverty.
Yeah.
Right. We always had what we needed. We never had any more. But we lived in San Diego, which is a dope place to live. And even as like a 12 or 13-year-old kid, you live in a rad place. We moved up to San Joaquin Valley, up to Tracy. Literally, the way that San Joaquin Valley people refer to San Joaquin Valley is the armpit of California.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's like 90% agricultural. When we moved up to Tracy 25 years ago, it was an agricultural town where like cows outnumbered people like 50-1. It was just like, I went from literally living in like the Mission Valley South Park area to agriculture, and I was pissed. I could not be more upset about this. And then probably spent.
But who was there? How did she know to move there?
That was, again, she's moving up to the only support she knows she can really count on, which is my aunt. My aunt happened to live in Tracy. Whenever that was.
Is this
like
the same
97.
aunt that you originally moved in with? No,
same
different
aunt.
Same
aunt
one?
that she like
Now
did
she
the
moved
6-month
there?
stint. Then mom came back to San Diego, and then in the second divorce, mom was like, okay, I need to be near family. I need some support, and she moved up to Tracy. And man, I'm like estranged from my dad. I am in this town that I hate. I'm 13, 14 years old, and I'm just pissed about everything.
Yikes.
And I say screw it to all of it, and I just got connected to friends, got just heavily involved in drugs for probably a year and a half, 2 years.
At 13.
At 13, 14.
You
up
the
until
crew
about,
you were running with, because out there, that's all. What else is there to do?
There's not a lot
Tip
to
cows
do.
and do drugs.
You can do sports. You can be an athlete. You can be an academic, or you can be a druggie. Like those are kind of your available options. I wasn't plugged in. I was never that good at school. I definitely wasn't an athlete. So I was like, okay, I know where I fit. Leaned hard into that for a couple of years.
And by drugs, weed, anything else, like anything hard, like coke or?
It was probably 99% weed.
Yeah,
if things came across, like I would try them, but it was 95% weed.
Gotcha.
So kind of
like
like
booze too, drinking.
Yeah, anything like cigarettes and booze, like if you could get your hands on it. As 13, 14, it's kind of hard to get your hands on those things. But for some reason, I don't know why this is true, we could always get our hands on weed.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I don't. That's bizarre.
Well, up there, I'm sure it was like every other house was dealing it.
Yeah, it was, and I mean, like it got to the point where it's like it's hard to fund those things as a 13-year-old. So
Yeah.
you start to deal it, and then
Exactly.
then you're just like in the flow of it. And you're
Yeah,
just
correct.
you have it available to you. And then in 9th or 10th grade, I think it was 10th grade, I made a really good friend, guy who was plugged into church, guy named Matt Lynn, and he brought me to youth group, and that youth pastor.
You met him at school.
I met him at school. He brought me to youth group, and the youth pastor, a guy named Dennis Druckhammer, who kind of was a second father to my wife, he got really interested in me.
Wait, a second father to your wife?
A second dad, yeah, like a surrogate dad to my wife, because I met Sarah in high school.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Sarah and I met in high school in
Oh.
San Joaquin Valley in
Here we
Tracy,
go.
California.
In Tracy.
In Tracy.
See, God had a plan, dude.
Man, that's the best. It's the only really
Come
good thing
on.
that came out of Tracy for me. I wouldn't give it up for that one reason.
Yes.
100%. Yeah, I
That's
met her
unbelievable.
in 9th or 10th grade, but we didn't hit it off at first because she's not about to like start hanging with this kid who like clearly
druggy.
is druggy. Yeah, like she's not about to spend time with him. She was way
That's
too smart
hilarious, man.
for that. Then Dennis brings me under his wing. My life starts to change.
So,
Then-
he was like a father figure to your wife at the time.
yeah.
Did your wife, did she not have her father?
Yeah, her dad, kind of similar. Her dad
Okay.
didn't know how to be a dad.
Okay, got it.
Really loves her. I'm sure wanted to be an amazing dad. Really didn't have the tools to do that.
Gotcha.
So he tried to father from an immense distance. Didn't know how to be a father.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, so she and I eventually both get really rooted in a youth group.
So the guy,
Dennis,
your friend,
yeah. Oh, Matt, yeah,
Matt,
my buddy.
brings you to youth group.
Yep.
The main guy,
Yeah.
who was a father figure to your wife, but had you met Sarah at this point?
We've met. We're not.
Okay.
We're not
Nothing.
besties yet.
Nothing going
yeah,
on.
Yeah.
Oh, so pick up from the youth group. How did that go? What was your thoughts? We're like, oh man, this is
Man, I think by the time I got to youth group, I think I was so hungry for like feeling like there was any place on the planet where I actually mattered, where I belonged. I don't think I had any judgments about religion or God. I was so hungry for it. I was just like ready. I was
Wow.
just ready.
Yeah.
There wasn't, it would be a long time before I think I got to a place of like real deep emotional transformation much later in my walk with God. But I knew that I wanted to follow God as a 10th grader in high school because I had seen what Brian looks like without God.
Yeah.
Brian without, I really like am amazed by people who are like really high functioning individuals without God and then they get saved.
Right.
I kind of like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
I was such a train wreck without God. I was such a complete disaster that anybody who could say like, Brian, we can help. God can help. God can heal this. God can give you direction. God can give you purpose. And then actually rooting myself in God, the transformation was night and day.
how did you? How long going to the youth group? Now, by youth group, describe that. Were you going to church every Sunday? Like, what did that? What did that entail?
I probably wasn't going to. No, not church on Sundays. Not at first. Youth group was Thursday. It was Wednesday or Thursday nights. It was in this
Exactly.
little-
What does that mean? What were you doing? You were
It
going
was
in
this
there.
little upper office of the church where we, my buddy would pick me up. His family would pick me up at home, or I'd walk over to his house, because my mom was a working nurse, so we kind of walked most places. And we get to youth group. It's tiny little youth group, probably like 7 or 8 kids, and this youth pastor who just like served. And we would play silly games, and he would teach really awkward lessons about the Bible. I think that's one of the coolest things about it is it shows you that we really don't need like sexy ministry.
Yeah.
When somebody shows up and you have a young person or an adult who's in a place of readiness, we don't need this like amazing kind of moving ministry, which is what holds me back. Right? Like it's okay. I'll get involved, or I'll serve in that capacity. I'll serve in kids, or I'll serve in this when I feel more ready, when I'm more polished communicator, when I'm have a better area of my life over here or whatever. Man, Dennis was just like a young adult trying to figure stuff out himself, but he loved teenagers, and he showed up, and he changed my life. He gave me a root system in God that God could work with later, right? Like Brian still stayed pretty raw for a while.
Yeah.
We used to have a handshake because once your brain kind of attaches to a substance, right? Like cannabis, right? Once your brain says, man, this is this exit to anxiety and this exit to loneliness and this exit to anger. Even after I found God, my brain would periodically be like, you're sitting at home in your bedroom alone and you're angry or you're lonely. I know what to do about this. And so Dennis and I developed basically a secret handshake where he could check in with me in front of my parents, in front of adults, in front of the church or whatever, that we would shake one of two ways. If I had used weed, if I had not used weed, I would shake his hand differently and we could communicate. And it was this really, it didn't really extend beyond that. It didn't extend to like any sort of like condemnation.
Yeah.
He discipled me by just saying, Brian, I care now. I want to know. You matter. This is hurting you. If there's anything I can do to help you get out of this habit that's really hurting you. And the least he could do was he could tell me that, and we had this check-in. And I would say that was probably one of the key mechanisms that got, just having somebody who cared enough to check in with me over a long period of time was enough for me. Like, man, I really don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
And probably within a year getting involved with youth, I was completely off all forms of drugs. I had really pulled away from a lot of those toxic friendships that because we would wait until our parents went to sleep in like, ninth grade or whatever. And then we'd sneak out the window and we'd go find substances and go hang out in alleys and stuff. I think about this now because my oldest, Olivia, is 14.
Yeah.
I think about when I was 14, what I was doing, and my mind explodes.
Yes.
Because she's just like so radically and authentic. Like when she's at home and we're all hanging out and having dinner or hanging out in the evening, like there's no part of her life that is hidden from us.
Yeah.
All of my life was hidden from my family at
Wow.
14 years old,
Wow.
And I look at that and I'm just like, God is so good, man. The transformation, from one generation to the next, the transformation is so radical. So yeah, he cared, he showed up. We had this simple way of checking in with each other. And that little bit of connection was enough for a root of I matter to somebody, a root to take, and I didn't want the substance anymore, which is, actually how a lot of addiction heals.
Yes. Yes.
But got rooted in high school.
And then did now had you been in church at all up to that point in your life?
Yeah, my family went to church very casually for most of my childhood.
Were you baptized as a kid? Christian? Were you?
I wasn't baptized until I was a teenager.
Okay.
But we definitely identified casually. We definitely identified as a Christian family.
Yeah.
We would go to church sometimes, always on Easter. My mom would get really angry and probably kind of like the whole car ride would be a screaming match if we missed worship, because that's really what we went to. When we went to church, we didn't go very often, but when we went to church when we were living in San Diego, we went to Calvary Chapel, Mission Valley, where Pastor Leo, I can't remember his last name, Pastor Leo, who was formerly a Las Vegas piano player.
Yeah.
He would open up church every Sunday. Before they got into worship, he would open up with like Las Vegas piano, just like go nuts on the keys. And she'd be so pissed if we missed that in the beginning. But yeah, it was definitely a cultural part of who we were.
Yeah.
But I don't think my parents at the time, knew how to follow Jesus. They didn't know how to entrust their life in a way that Jesus became part of the culture of our home.
Right.
I think my mom, like I told you, my dad had a lot of trauma he didn't know what to do with, and I think my mom, similarly so, had a lot of trauma. She grew up. 3 of the 5 members of her family of origin were dead from alcoholism before my mom was an adult. So alcoholism was just.
This your mom's side of the family.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just wrecked my mom's side of the family. Had a lot of trauma, and I think she spent most of my childhood very much in survival mode. And so it really wasn't until. Did
your parents drink as well?
My parents did 2 things that I think radically protected us, even in the midst of a lot of chaos and a lot of marital violence and conflict. They never used substances because they saw it destroy other people. They never used substances. And all throughout the divorce process, and once the divorce was over, they never spoke badly about each other.
First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for watching, for listening. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you, the feedback, the love. So if you want to support the show, we have a company, Real Deal Wellness. That's our wellness center. It's a membership base where you pay $99 a month, have unlimited access to red light therapy, cryotherapy, compression therapy, halo therapy, as well as massage chairs. Also, Real Deal Sleep's our mattress company. But again, we can't thank you enough for subscribing and for sharing the show. Continue to do so. We love you. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Before the divorce, it was like rage.
Yeah.
Once they got divorced, I think they both made a decision. I'm never going to put the other parent down in front of my kids.
Wow.
And I think I can't even calculate how much kind of pain and internal division that protected us from.
Oh, yeah.
They had a lot of mess, and they had a lot of blind spots. But man, there were a couple of things that really come through, and you're like, man, you wanted to protect us. And they did a couple of things really well. Yeah. And we knew that they loved Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew how to follow Jesus.
Right.
But that was another good deposit.
And then, so up at Tracy now, youth group, did you get resaved? What happened there? Like, you were born again? Like, well, give me the.
That was another, like, I think there was such a valuable deposit that happened when I was in, whatever that was, probably 10th grade.
Yep.
Is that I got rooted in a God community. I had Christian friendship, and there was a mentor in my life. Probably the most valuable thing. There was an older man in my life that I felt like I really mattered to him, and I connected that mattering to God's love. But I did not have any understanding of what it meant to be born again. I didn't have any understanding of what it meant to like walk in the power of the Holy Spirit. I didn't have a relationship with the Holy Spirit. Nobody told me that like I had access to this kind of power and this kind of connection with God. And I would say that didn't happen until years later. And so in some respects, truthfully, my relationship with the Holy Spirit's been transformed pretty radically in the last 3 to 5 years through Awaken. But before then, I did get to a place where I understood, oh man, my relationship with God can be personal. And God will, like that was very much through the crisis we went through in like 2009, 2010 between Sarah and I, our marital crisis, the infidelity. That's where God really kind of transformed me on an emotional level.
Wow.
So I would say maybe like a theological saving happened in high school.
Right.
But it really wasn't until a young adult where God became real to me on a personal, emotional level. Yeah.
And then, okay, so now youth group, and then so how long were you there? Did you come back to San Diego?
We were there for all 4 years of high school.
All 4 years of high school. Okay,
Yeah.
so what grade did you meet Sarah?
She was in my class in 9th grade. I remember seeing her across the way on the other side of the math class, Miss Tober's math class, and being like, man, that girl's cute. I literally, this is very bizarre. I have a distinct memory of seeing Sarah on the other side of the room, seeing her smile and thinking she is going to be an incredible wife. I don't think I ever had that thought about another girl, but I remember distinctly before I had met her, I remember seeing her across the classroom and be like, she's going to be an amazing wife.
And this is now like 16 years old. No, 15, 16 years old.
This is probably 15.
15.
She's 14. And I'm trying to be her friend, but she's having no part of it. She's not there for that. She's too smart. She was warm. She was kind to me, but she was not about to hang out. As soon as I started to get, my life started to get healthier because of youth group and Dennis and Matt, I could see she was opening up to me, and we started to hang out as friends. And that's when our relationship, pretty early on, probably about I was probably 16, she was probably 15 when we started dating.
Yeah.
And
so this is now going into junior year?
Sophomore, junior year.
Sophomore, junior year.
Yeah.
Tell me about the roll-up. How did it happen? Like, what did you move in? Say, hey, give me the whole
roll-up, bro. My game was
give me
weak.
the roll-up.
My game was weak.
We need to assess your game, Doc.
You know, I heard a stat actually recently that somewhere in the order of 85% of adult Gen X and millennial men have never approached a female in public, have never asked a woman out that they didn't already
Actually,
have.
no.
Like a prolonged development of relationship.
What percentage?
Something between 85%.
Wow.
And I think about that because that's true for me. I never did that kind of dating. I think, man, there's probably some dimension of that you can say that's because I was like pursuing a woman that I knew deeply. But there's also a degree of like, I don't think anybody taught me how to be brave as a kid. Like nobody taught me, Brian, it's okay to get rejected by a girl. Just be crazy. Like if you think she's cute, go ask her to go to the movies or whatever. I never had that mentor that'd be like, go fail.
Yeah.
Because when you don't strike out, it feels really good.
Yeah.
And your identity builds from those things. So I befriended her. I just wooed her on the friendship level for a long time. And then I snuck in a kiss one night. It was just her and I were
So hold
hanging
on.
Yeah.
Hold on. You didn't say, hey, let's go out. Let's go
No.
to dinner.
Coward, bro. It's a coward game.
This is the coward game here. All right.
15-year-old Brian did not have confidence. So
No
he was like, I'm just going to.
balls whatsoever.
No balls. And just like get as close as I can to you as your friend, flirt with you. And I'm going to sneak in a kiss and just see what you do.
But that's ballsy.
I guess there's a moment of courage.
That's courage,
there.
bro.
There's a moment of courage. I appreciate that, JD.
Yes.
There's a moment of courage in there.
That's big courage.
And
You
it
jumped
just
right there.
Literally went one night without saying any words about it. We were hanging out watching a movie. I gave her a kiss. She kisses me back. I went home. I see her the next day. We're like, what happened last night? We remember it because I was walking up to her house the next day. Like we had this kind of charged moment right before I left the night before. We were hanging out as friends. And as I'm walking across the lawn towards her front door, I walked across this patch of grass and a wasp flew up my pant leg.
Are you serious?
This is the night after I give Sarah our first kiss. It flies up my pant leg and stings me 3 times before I can get it out of my pants. So the first thing Sarah...
That's God.
This is like,
striking down on you. How dare you?
He's trying to like say, bro, protect my girl. I'm going to protect her if you don't protect her.
I'm going to send a wasp at you.
You're not looking out for Sarah's purity, Brian. So yeah, she opens the door and I'm like, I need to go to your bathroom right now because like I just got stung on my pants like 17 times or something. But yeah, that was like after that is when we have the conversation. So and that's like one of my. I'm gonna teach my girls, man. You don't need. The guy doesn't need to be like suave, but he needs to be straight. He needs to tell you straight up what his intentions are.
Yeah.
So, yeah, be open. I love my wife because one of my daughters, like I said, she's 14. She went to a dance recently, and she went to my wife, and she's like, "What if a boy asked me to dance?" And she's like, "Say yes."
Yeah.
But like, what if he's? And I can't remember what she said, but she's like, "What if I don't? What if I don't want to, or something like that?" And my wife she's got such a beautiful heart. She's like, "You don't have to dance long. But if a boy's brave, unless he does something disrespectful, right? Unless he's unkind or there's something about him specifically, if he's brave, say yes, and dance with him for a minute, and then excuse yourself, right? But honor the brave. I'm like, man, that's why I'm married, because I got really lucky, man. I got somebody who'd honor my brave,
honor the bravery,
yeah, little brave.
And then you come running in crying with the wasp bites, the wasp stingers.
This is a freaking joke,
Mr. Brave.
It's actually become like our family mascot. We got bees and wasps, little emblems around our house that remind us of our humble origins. Yeah.
Mr. Bravery, and then he gets stung by a wasp, and he comes running.
Yeah. I don't think I was in tears. Luckily, I was able.
That goes with the story, though. Let's just run with it.
It definitely tracks. It didn't happen, but it would track.
It would track. Nobody would doubt that.
We went hard, as you can imagine, like a.
So the next day, hey, oh my gosh, what happened? Hey, should we date? Like, when did that come up?
As I'm coming out of the bathroom with my bee stings or my wasp stings, that's when we were like, so what is this? And we kind of announced ourselves a couple, and this is where. Because I used to be like really against a teenager or high school having any kind of dating relationship because I had one reference point where Sarah and I, who were 2 kids with no kind of father covering, neither one of us had any father covering, massive kind of father hunger in our hearts. And then we form a romantic bond with another person at 15 and 14 years old. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
No guidance, no mentorship, no discipleship. So we just went hard, and you would have like talked to Brian and Sarah at 15 and 14, like they're in love, they're going to spend the rest of their life together, and that's not a healthy thing for a 14 and 15-year-old to be thinking like no other attachments in my life matter now. You complete me, the whole like all the way into that, and when you put that much weight on a relationship to fulfill and give your life meaning, the house of cards is gonna collapse eventually. So within the year, maybe a year and a half later, something like that, the house of cards collapse, and we have a really dramatic high school breakup.
Oh, really?
I think I we both go through anger, but pretty quickly after the breakup, I'm like, what have I done? I think Sarah's like, I never want to talk to you again. And then
What caused the breakup? Can I go there?
well, sure. I mean, what caused the breakup was that it's the same thing that happens in an adult relationship. Is that gradual accumulation of little wounds that you don't know how to talk about, and just resentment builds up and builds up and builds up. So there wasn't any sort of big breaking point, even though I did a lot of dumb stuff. My wife still loves to tell the story about 3 or 4 weeks after we break up. Junior prom happens. And we were planning to go to junior prom together.
Yeah, of course.
So we still, as a group of friends, we're still going, and Sarah's still like my date. And there was an exchange student at our school. My mom was an exchange student in Holland when she was in college. So my mom speaks Dutch, loves Dutch culture. There's an exchange student from Holland in our school who's kind of entered our friend group, and she's befriended my mom. So my mom's like, hey, Brian, you and Sarah aren't a thing anymore. I want you at prom. I want you to take prom pictures with her name was Nanda. So I go with Sarah as my date. Sarah and I take prom pictures together, and then I step away and I come back to like the photo booth, the official kind of prom picture, and I take pictures with Nanda.
Oh my gosh.
And man, I didn't know that Sarah was going to be my wife. We had just broken up. I didn't know where this was going, but man, that's the kind of
I didn't know where this was going.
That's the kind of emotional maturity I had as like I was probably 16 or 17 at the time.
You didn't say,
dramatic-
Mom, I don't think that's a good idea, Mom.
No, I mean Nanda was really cute, so
Yeah, well.
I wasn't all against it. I'm not saying 16 or 17-year-old Brian was wise. I'm just saying
We're not saying that at all.
we're not making that claim. There's no evidence to support that, but yeah, we had a big dramatic, emotional, like a lot of pain and anger high school breakup.
Was she pissed at that?
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
pissed at that. And I didn't know, that's part of the problem when you don't have any discipleship in your life. You don't ever learn to believe that you can tolerate somebody else's correction. You can't tolerate the impact that you have on another person. So we have to write that impact off. So I kind of vilified Sarah in my mind. Problem is, we graduate like a year later. We graduate from
And you're
high
still in
school.
Tracy.
We're still stuck in Tracy.
Stuck.
Sarah, the first thing Sarah does when we graduate from high school is she goes on a month-long mission trip to Romania. She goes to Romania on this mission trip. She's serving orphans in Romania. She's doing this incredible work. Sarah comes back from just a month on the front lines of a mission field, just immersed in God, being used by God. She dyed her hair red. She comes back from that mission trip like you can see a visible difference. I've literally never seen somebody more attractive in my entire life than Sarah coming back from the mission field. And she tells our little church at the time, because we're still going to the same church. So there's an internship, a 1-year-long internship in Texas. It doesn't exist anymore. It was called T-Mania's Honor Academy. And she tells everybody, I'm going to go to the Honor Academy. I'm going to go dedicate a year of my life to serve the mission field and to get discipled and grow in my leadership. It's a lot like Awaken You.
Yeah.
And I hear that, and I'm like, I'm going to the Honor Academy. I'm moving to Texas. I'm going to use this opportunity, and I literally did. I literally followed Sarah to Texas.
Are you serious? Did you
because
tell her you were going?
She was pissed. I told Sarah, I think God's. I mean, I didn't hear nothing from God. I think God's calling me to the Honor Academy. What God was calling me, or what my heart was calling me to, was to find a way to become her friend again, because I had wounded her.
I didn't
really
hear nothing
deeply.
from God.
I just
Nothing
wanted,
from God.
I wanted out of Tracy, and I wanted an excuse to be close to Sarah. But I went.
She was pissed.
She was
She's like,
she was
really?
Are you kidding me?
This is my time.
Because exactly like a year and a half of our high school life, it was Brian and Sarah. They were like a complete unit, And Sarah really wanted to find herself, have some space that was hers. So she let me know really quickly, hey, we're going to the same campus. We're not going to be friends. There's going to be distance. We get there and we get assigned. So everybody gets placed in what are called cores. So a group of maybe like 12 to 20 boys, 12 to 20 women, whether or not you're a man or woman. And that core is kind of your like discipleship group. You grow together. And each male and female core is assigned a brother or sister core. And God, in all of his goodness, put me in 1,000 people. He put me in a 20-person group and her in a 20-person group and assigned those groups to be friends with each other. And we got to really rebuild our friendship from nothing.
What was the reaction? Was she like, really?
I think she was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" Yeah. She went to her court advisor, which is kind of like an RD in college in that setting, and she basically told the whole thing. And she's like, "I don't know what to do. I don't want this person in my life. This person has hurt me. We got a ton of history." And they kind of watched me really closely for a while, and I just used the opportunity to like rebuild our friendship from the ground up. And I got to show her.
Did you tell her what you were doing? Like, hey, I really want to work on this. Like, I
No
want to
way.
make this work. No.
As far as Sarah's concerned, I'm going to Texas because I'm following God, right? Because that's a story I can sell. That's a story I can stand by. But I know in my heart, I'm like, man, you like watching Sarah get really on fire for God, like really go all in with her heart, and seeing her come back transformed from that mission trip. I literally was like, I know exactly what I want. The problem is at the Honor Academy, you're not allowed to have any sort of romantic relationships.
Of course, yeah.
So I had a wake up call when I got to the Honor Academy where it's like God really challenged me, and he said, Brian, you don't get access to Sarah. Are you here because you want to seek and know me? And so it was just like a crucible where I got to go through for probably 3 to 6 months. Sarah and I probably had almost no contact, and I really got to get transformed by the Holy Spirit myself. And I kind of like my foundation as a real follower of Christ started, I think, where I was actually, okay, I take this relationship really seriously. I actually want to follow God with my life. So that started then. And Sarah and I got to kind of rebuild a new friendship, which later, a couple years after that, led to me pursuing her romantically a second time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this was a year long out there.
Yeah.
How long out there were you able to start the actual rekindling of the relationship?
So you're not allowed to do it as an intern.
But a friendship.
As a friendship, it probably happened like halfway through, maybe 4 or 5 months, 6 months into it. And what would happen is like I would hear that because we're in this like remote part of Texas, in Garden Valley, Texas, where like the closest Walmart is a 45-minute drive. It's this big, beautiful school campus, but everything is remote. So I would find out like her friends were making a Walmart run.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I need to go to Walmart. Can I go with you guys? And there's a 45-minute drive where I'm sitting in the back seat of a car, just like getting to talk to her friends, and she's in the car, and like, and she starts to see, man, Brian's different. And we start to, it's just the opportunity to like form a new friendship, something completely brand new. And we both got really we got to grow up as people, and we got to form something new, a new friendship. And then I left. She stuck around as an RD. She stuck around as a leader. I went home, started college, and I started to pursue her long distance after that. Yeah.
So you ended up, now where did you go? Did you go back to, you didn't go back to Tracy?
I went back to Tracy for just a couple of months, and then I moved down to San Diego. My dad was still living in San Diego, so I kind of had like connections where I could find a place to live, and I could start like community college. I just wanted to jump in and get things growing. At this point, I'm 20. So I felt like I just want to really get focused on school. I want to move to the next thing.
And how did you leave it with Sarah when you left the Texas thing?
Man, God did such like a radical, like our friendship it felt like so new, and it felt we had a really incredible friendship where we could like confide in each other. We would talk on the phone. It felt like really healthy male-female friendship, even though obviously I know I never stopped caring about her and being attracted to her, but God did teach me like, okay, Brian, you got to take some ownership of what's going on in your heart and really see her as a sister for a while. And we got to have that friendship. And then once I went home, I was like, okay, I've spent the last year not being allowed to date. What would it be like to spend 1 year not dating out of my own self-discipline and just really focus on myself out of my own choice? So I took 1 more year, and then at the end of that year, so this would be like end of 2003, beginning 2004, is when I tell Sarah, man, I've never stopped caring about you. You're one of my best friends. Can you see pursuing something more together? And we started dating. Yeah.
And so for the year when you left, were you keeping in touch, a friendship? Were you talking all the time? Was there any communication?
Not all the time. I wasn't letting, because I knew there was I knew if I let myself, I'd slide into really strong feelings. So we're probably talking once every week, once every 2 weeks, pretty regular.
Yeah.
But I'm not letting myself like emotionally fall into that. I'm really trying to focus on like developing myself as a young adult person, like taking some ownership in my life. It was good. I jumped into school. I started working, and then about a year later,
That's when you.
That's
But
when
were
I
you
pursue
planting
her.
seeds along the way? Like, hey, I think,
sure.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I know where this can go. I can. See
Oh
where this
no,
goes.
I really didn't let myself go there. Not. I mean, I'm planting seeds with like, she has a bad day. I'm a friendly ear that listens. I'm planting those seeds.
Yeah.
But I'm really not letting myself go to a place where it's like, hey, I think in the future I'd love to consider
not at
this
all. No,
again.
no.
I was like, next time I sit down with Sarah, next time I hint at romance with Sarah, I want to own it 100%.
Yeah.
The first time I snuck a kiss and I ran out the door, right? The next time I do this, I'm going to sit down and say, hey, I really care about you. I can see a life with you. And I want you to know I want to know if you want to pursue that. And so I did it. We sat down at a Starbucks and I was like, I'm going to be
So you waited over a year.
And another year after graduating from the Honor Academy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then when did you get back together to do this thing?
She happened to be visiting home because she stayed at that campus in leadership for a year and a half.
Wow.
After I left. So she's visiting home. She was visiting her family in Tracy. I drove up from San Diego and just to like see her. We went out, got coffee or something, and I was like, hey, I've never stopped caring about you. And I think we could have like a really amazing relationship. Do you want to pursue this? I tried to like shoot really straight, which is like what I want to teach my daughters to look for.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be suave. He doesn't have to make $1 million. But you want somebody who can own eventually. Eventually, he doesn't have to make it on day one.
Right.
I don't know any teenagers that are making that kind of money. They're out there though.
True.
But you do want character. You want him to shoot straight.
Of course.
Yeah. Tell him what his intention is. Own it.
Yeah.
Don't beat around the bush. So,
And so
we started dating.
what was the reaction?
We were both right there. Yeah, we were there for it. Yeah, it was God. I mean, like I said, I can't.
Were you nervous going into this conversation?
I don't actually think I was. I think I was nervous. I was nervous because of the weight of it. Our relationship was going to change, but it wasn't nervous like I have no idea what she's going to say. Right. That's why I think, you miss out on something as a guy maybe in his late teens, early 20s, where you're being brave and you're going up to women you don't know and say, hey, I'd like to take you out for coffee or something. Would you? I never did that. I think there's a good development that happens there. But in this case, I don't think I was scared in the sense that I don't know what she's going to say, but I was scared in the sense, okay, this there's no backing out. If I'm going to take this step, I'm going to own it all the way. Yeah.
And she said, yeah, I'm all about it. Let's go.
Yeah, she met me right there. I can't remember what she said. She was gentle about it. She said, I'm in to explore this. I think she was probably a little bit cautious. She's still a leader and a teacher at that school in Texas, so we kind of had to work things out. But we took the next step.
She was going back to continue leading.
At that point, she went back for probably another 6 months before she wrapped up her role there and moved back to California.
Back to California, back to Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
And now you were down here going to community college.
And now I'm down exactly. So we date long distance for probably 10 or 11 months. I moved up to Tracy one more time to be engaged to her. We were engaged for 5 months, got married, and moved down to San Diego.
You moved up to do the engagement. Did she know you were coming up to get engaged?
Yeah, I think if I remember this correctly, I proposed while I still lived in San Diego. Yeah.
She knew you were coming up to propose? Was this a surprise? Or
I'm like, how could you? I think she was surprised. I don't know how she could have been. I planned the most like extravagant date where it's like there's all these stages to the date. We're going to this restaurant and this destination and this, and she still acted like shocked when I finally like got down on my knee and actually proposed to her. But probably within a week or a month after that, I actually move up. Like, okay, if we're gonna be engaged, we need to be in close proximity. We have to like do a little bit of life together. And we got married up in the San Joaquin Valley, and then immediately moved down to San Diego and started our life right there. Yeah.
Wow. So you chose San Diego as your home.
Yeah, we put down roots immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Immediately. So now you're going to community college. You still going to community?
I'm still in community college.
At what point which one did you go to? Did you tell me already? No.
At that point, I was going to Palomar.
Oh, okay.
And then I transferred to UCSD probably within like 11.
Is this around the time where you figured out what you want to do? Did you already know?
No, like there was a journey on that, because when I was at the Honor Academy, things that you're doing is things that they challenge you to do, and it's a really intense growth environment. It's a lot like Awaken You. It's very, very intense. but you're living there on campus. It's 24/7, right?
Yeah.
There's no escaping this thing. You're serving the ministry. So I had a ministry placement. I was, calling youth pastors, and I was helping them mobilize their students for youth events. I was in these classes, these leadership and character development classes, and I was doing all these things. What was the question just a second ago?
So did you know what you wanted to do right away?
Yeah, so one of the things you do at the Honor Academy is you go through a vision retreat where you do extended fasting and you really kind of dedicate some time to hear from God, what are you calling me to? And as a 19-year-old in 2002, I heard God tell me that he wanted me to be a marriage and family therapist.
Wow.
And I go, because boom, there's my target. I set my target, and that lasts for years. Sarah and I got married in 2005, and immediately, because of so much undealt with trauma, because we had never had a really healthy up-close model that could disciple us over time. And as a young adult couple, because we had had so much discipleship as individuals, we felt, I think, an overconfidence, and we got really alienated. We weren't grounded in a church. We weren't grounded in a community that could grow and challenge us and encourage us. So almost immediately after getting married, we have this great honeymoon period, and just things get harder and harder and harder. We're about 2.5, 3 years in. Our marriage is just hanging on by a thread.
Wow.
Which I never, ever thought would happen, man, because I was like a weird kid. When I was in high school and I was watching my mom go through her second divorce, I was reading marriage books.
Wow.
My friends were obsessed with Half-Life and video games. I was literally at home reading marriage books because I'm like, if I do nothing else, I'm going to get marriage right. And then within a couple of years of being married, because we were so alienated and we just desperately needed discipleship, I know that I did as a man. I needed other men who could say, hey, Brian, you need to correct these mindsets. You need to treat her differently. You need to do X, Y, and Z. We got really alienated, which is really dangerous.
Alienated meaning from the church.
Alienated from, we're isolated from community. We're so focused on trying to get through school.
Yeah.
She was working on a bachelor's. I was working on finishing my bachelor's and starting my master's degree. All the while, I was still like, okay, I'm going to be a marriage and family therapist. And it was really insidious. It was really gradual the way it happened. But I can see now, I can look back, the harder our marriage got, the more I lost hope, the more I reset my target. I was like, you know what? Marriage and family counselor is not really guaranteed any sort of income. It's not really a secure, what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to teach high school. And so when I completed my bachelor's degree, I switched over to a master's in education.
Wow.
That as hope got broken off, as our marriage got harder and harder, I switched my target. And that led to the marriage just getting tougher and tougher, to the point where I got to a place where there was so much self-deceit, so much emotional unhealth in my own heart, that I ended up going down a pathway and being unfaithful to Sarah, which was the absolute rescue moment for my life, man. Having to come back from this study abroad program I did in Mexico, having to come back from that and confess to Sarah what I had done, and face that, and watch that thread get cut. And now we're sitting in a counselor's office, and the first thing the counselor, this amazing woman, Gina Robertson, the first thing she asked Sarah is do you want to stay married? Your husband just cheated on you. Do you want to stay married? And Sarah didn't know the answer to that question. And it just completely shakes you to your core.
Yeah.
You're like, man, what is happening? Who is this person I've become that my wife doesn't know if she wants to be married to me? So I was like, okay, there's nothing I can do about this. I can't control this. All I can do is submit myself to the Lord changing my life.
Right.
Got into really intensive.
And this interview is brought to you by Real Deal Wellness. This is a company my wife and I just launched, Real Deal Wellness. It's a membership base. We're charging the lowest price that has ever been offered for wellness in San Diego in history. You're going to get cryotherapy, red light therapy, infrared sauna, compression therapy, and halo therapy, which is dry salt therapy. Real Deal Wellness. You can go to our website, realdealwellness.net. Also, subscribe to the channel, share it, like it. We love you. We appreciate you. Have a nice
really
day.
Intensive in personal therapy, one-on-one. Say, I need to address whatever blind spot left me open to betrayal. I need to figure out what this was. Dedicated myself to that. All the while we're doing couples therapy. About 6 months into that process, Sarah and I are really starting to stabilize. That's when I came into a place of insane clarity, that there was a lot of things that left us vulnerable. There are a lot of things that left us unprotected. The most critical was probably the fact that we were out of community. There was no
Yeah,
discipleship and community in our life. Nobody who could see into our life and say, man, God has something better. Let me challenge you. And so about 6 months into that process, we got really rooted in a church for the first time in our entire marriage.
Wow.
And from that moment, it's been up and to the right. Like our marriage has just gotten better and better. I tell people all the time, our marriage got probably more and more stable and healthy for about 6 years. And then it stabilized. And I feel like in the last, because this is, that crisis was about 15, 16 years ago.
Right, yeah.
In the last 3 to 5 years, I see a marriage emerging between me and Sarah that I wouldn't have even known to pray for. Marriage can be so good when you are rooted in really like authentically in yourself. You know how to be really known by the other person, and you know how to navigate intimacy in a really vulnerable way. You know how to support each other.
Yeah.
Marriage gets even better than I knew to hope for. And that's why I feel like we've been in the last maybe 3 to 5 years. But it was an absolute life-changing turning point for sure.
And you you just said something where it can be so beautiful. Something about being like each one having their own identity.
Yeah.
Like, is that, like, how important is that? Is that something that you...
Man, I think we have this really romanticized idea of marriage, particularly in the church. It's not a gospel. It's not a Bible idea. It's a very Western idea. It's something we got from the Romantic area, which is like, late 17th, early 1800s. This idea of like a healthy marriage is where two people lose themselves in each other, and they lose personal identity. And then we take really incredibly important scripture like Genesis 2, where it says, and the two became one flesh. And we twist it to mean you have no personal identity. It's just the happiness and the joy and the fulfillment of this other person. And I think, growing up in a home where I never saw healthy marriage modeled, my idea of success was Sarah is happy, which you can't lead somebody. You can't be in an authentic, intimate relationship with somebody if your standard is they must never be unhappy, which causes you to either resent them or betray yourself. And you do that 1,000 times in a bunch of little ways, and all of a sudden you're completely like fragmented internally, which is part of what led to me betraying myself and then betraying Sarah. But we get rooted in a really good community. We start to get discipled, and then, from then on, God has just taken us deeper and deeper. Community. Yeah, we have a joke in our house because of that experience. The saying that the three essentials are food, shelter, and clothing. In our home, it's food, shelter, and community.
Yeah.
That's like it's a non-negotiable. If we're gonna, if we were to move to someplace, we were moved away from San Diego, moved to someplace. I can't imagine. Our church is so alive and healthy, and it's so like energizing and transformative for our family. I can't imagine leaving our church. But if we ever did, the first priority, the first thing we'd do would be like, okay, we need to get rooted in community. We need to be known. Yeah.
And do your kids know this backstory?
They know pieces of it. A lot of pieces of it they don't know. It's kind of interesting because that part of our story, like the fact that I committed infidelity, the fact that we went through this healing process, the healing in that has been so thorough for us. It doesn't have any power. And so there are big chunks of it that just never even occurred to me to like, oh, now my daughter's 14 years old. I've told parts of this story on platforms that are now on YouTube. There's probably pieces of this story that she doesn't know. So it's been something that Sarah and I have been thinking like, how do we bring these parts of our story into kind of the family narrative in a way that are really life-giving, because these are parts of our story that we're like excited about what God did. But some of them are hard.
Yeah. Because they're gonna get the info.
The info is out there,
and it's better to come from you.
Yeah.
So you can kind of cushion it a little bit, and as you said, use it as a teaching moment and a positive, turning it into a positive rather than people. No, I heard this. Why are they doing that? Like on the back end, how kids are.
It's impacted like therapy relationships before, where maybe I'll be working with a couple, or I'll be working with somebody who was betrayed.
Yeah.
And then they'll 6 months in, when we have a ton of like therapeutic trust established in the relationship, they'll do a Google search and they'll start to listen to teachings or something, and they'll come back in, and it'll be something different. Like they shifted, like there's a big wall up, what's going on, and you find out, they found out that infidelity is a part of my story, and then we get to work through that, right? Like we get to work through rebuilding trust here.
Wow.
So it's a real part of a relationship. If that touches your story, to know that your counselor, or in other cases your pastor or somebody that you love, has committed that, it's I think it's a really amazing opportunity. If the person has done their work, right? If the person has addressed it, it's a really amazing, because every single time that's happened, it leads to deeper healing. It just leads to that person. Okay, like I literally was working with an incredible young mom. She's in a divorce process. Like the betrayal was so extensive. To this day, the husband has never owned all the things that he's done. He's just continued to gaslight and lie to her. And for her to get to process that with me and to say, oh, there's a completely different way to go through this, right? Accountability looks like this. Ownership looks like this. Man, when I betrayed, this is how I walk through it. These are the signs. This is how you can know that a person is safe to trust again. Because she was obviously in that like lie and discover process for so long. That it's really amazing to see how God has actually used it to bring healing to people in really unexpected ways. She said in this conversation we had recently, she said, if I had known this about you, I would have passed. I wouldn't have worked with you as a therapist. And it turned out to be like this huge healing process. Yeah.
Like in a positive.
In a positive way.
Yeah. In a very in an effective way of helping. Incredible.
Yeah.
So at what point then did you move the target radar back to marriage and therapist, family
Yeah,
therapist?
it was probably coming out of that healing where Sarah and I are starting to heal. I am starting to do deep healing as an individual. And I came back to Sarah and I was like, I think God called me this a long time ago and I lost my way. I think I want to, and now I'm already in a master's program for education at this point. I want to uproot myself and I want to start a new master's program. And she's like, you've got to do it. She knew immediately. Yeah. Like I came to her and she already knew that I needed. She already knew it. Yeah.
It's funny because one of the interviews that I've done that's ringing to me right now which just ringing over and over and over is Pastor Melissa Higginbottom. This was the thing we talked about a lot during that interview, was the fact that you can't have a healthy relationship or marriage, for that matter, if you don't have healing. If you don't each heal from your stuff. Yeah. So I remember that most of that interview was we talked about that. How it was so important, like how they finally got together, because it's been a while. They met each other. She, it's the funny story, the hot Jesus, because he played Jesus in one of the plays.
I haven't heard that.
Oh, Jesus is hot. Oh yeah, if you listen to it, it's hilarious. But they didn't actually go for it until they realized that, wait, we need to heal. I've got really bad stuff here. I have bad stuff. We need to heal. Then we'll go for it.
So good.
That's how theirs began.
That's so good. Yeah, I feel like going back to this idea, like God designed marriage for our healing. So you're going to come in, and
go back to that.
The degree to which you really thrive in your marriage is the degree to which, as individuals, you're really emotionally healthy, and the degree to which you're not is going to be the degree to which the marriage disrupts you, and that's a good thing. That's a good when you run into that conflict, because conflict is natural, right?
Yeah.
Conflict is unavoidable. A really secure, a really healthy marriage is not one that is free from conflict. It's one that feels safe to go through conflict. It's one that, like, when you hurt my feelings, when you frustrate me, you can bring that to me. And particularly as men, right? Like when we have undealt with stuff, and it's easy to hide if we're a performer. It's easy to hide if we're an achiever, because we got all of this data in our life that tells us, no, Brian, you loved, you made good money, you've been successful in these realms, people at work love you. It's easy to tell ourselves a story, but if I can't tolerate my wife's pain or my wife's anger, that's a Brian issue. It's not a Sarah issue. And so when I get confronted with the impact that I have on the other person, that's the marriage saying it's time to grow. It's time to identify what makes this so scary, because scary might not come out. Anger might come out. Defensiveness, I might stonewall you. All of those are fear responses. So every single time that happens in our marriage is an opportunity to get curious, like, okay, where is this coming from? What is so scary about Sarah being frustrated or Sarah being hurt or Sarah? And that's our healing. That's Brian's healing. That's not Sarah's healing. And then the more I'm able to tolerate that, stay really present, stay really responsive, seek to understand just all the basics of what the Bible talks about, the more I become the absolute perfect container for Sarah's healing. I don't need to take ownership of Sarah's story. I just need to take ownership of the impact I'm having on her. the story works itself out.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how healing works.
Now, is it even possible to get to these levels without a therapist? Because
Oh yeah. I think it is. You know, Awaken's like really messed up.
I wouldn't even know how to even tackle this, because I know Rachel and I, my wife, most amazing, my original savior, sent from God, Rachel, my wife, 24 years ago. Harmonious. However, we go at it here and there, and I wouldn't even know where to begin to heal things that we maybe even have.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that marriage is really good at, is no matter how many times you miss an opportunity to heal, it'll bring it back.
Yeah.
It'll like the next time you're late for date night, the next time finances are tight, like the marriage will provide opportunities. We just need to learn to identify the cues, right? We need to learn to identify, okay, this isn't actually about the financial frustration or the scheduling or the busyness it's not really about that. Because if it was about that and you and I felt really secure, we would solve the problem. If we're not solving the problem, there's a root system present. But I think one of the ways that Awaken has really messed up, like people like Pastor Jurgen and Pastor Leanne and all of our incredible campus pastors, they have like messed up because I could really relate to Dr. Matt. He'll talk about, man, when he got into chiropractic, like chiropractic was the way, the truth, and the light, right? Like that was the way that he was going to save the world.
Yeah.
I got into therapy. I was a believer. I knew that I was a follower of Christ and I believed in Jesus, but therapy was the way that I was going to save the world. And so I got obsessed with getting really good at therapy. It's not since seeing a church that operated with so much health, like psychological, relational, and emotional health, which is not everybody's perfect,
right?
But people deal with it. They work things out. So many. I had this really unique seat as a therapist who gets a lot of clientele from Awaken. I had this really unique seat where I got to process with people ways that they were impacted, hurt, frustrated, triggered by leadership. And so I get this like behind the curtain scene. They're like, man, if this is what unhealth looks like, or not unhealth, if this is what conflict and disruption looks like, man, I can be a part of that, because these are people who are saying, let's talk it.
Yeah.
Let's take ownership. I'll never forget, like the very first time I was invited to share at the marriage getaway, which is like the big marriage retreat.
Yep.
We were sitting at the dinner table with some of the campus pastors, the speakers, Pastor Jurgen, Pastor Leanne. We were all sitting there, and I can't remember, but somebody made an inappropriate joke. Somebody made just like a normal kind of inappropriate joke, and I had never seen culture and leadership like this before. And I've gotten to be support and be around leadership from most of the major churches in San Diego, is where Jurgen just, with no energy on it at all, just redirected, just gave this loving correction. That person received that correction with no energy on it. It's like, well, I've never seen that before. That kind of like safety in leadership, where people just give and receive correction to each other. And we just become this feedback loop of health. So being a part of that community over the last couple of years has kind of like messed up how I'm going to save the world. I'm like, I want to empower the local church to be the healing vessel, because I think that's what God intended.
Yes.
So right now we're working on building and launching a nonprofit counseling center through the church. We're working on pastoral care counseling training, because I really more and more I believe like we should be able to bring our needs to the church. The church has everything it needs. A little bit of training will take them from a place of like being able to meet 50% of the needs to being able to meet probably 80 or 90% of the needs. Is it always going to be helpful to have like a really highly trained specialist for something like trauma or acute attachment trauma or something like that? For sure. But man, my vision is like, I can just see God saying, I want to give the bride everything it needs to heal itself. The community, I've given them the gifts. We just need to like unlock it and train.
It's funny because I was actually going to go off on my next kind of topic and question when I said, can we do this without therapy? Because then my next question is, what about those that can't afford this therapy?
Yeah.
And obviously, you're already onto this.
It's the key problem.
But
right?
bro, you've got a untapped way of helping heal by making it like real deal wellness. it's a movement because we made it affordable and accessible
Right.
to everybody. $99 a month, unlimited access. No one's ever done that before.
Wow.
The average is like a 800 to 1,000 a month. We're at 99. So people are every day, 100 people a day come through. People are coming to my office crying all day
Yeah.
because how much we've changed their life, and they wouldn't be here if it wasn't 99.
Yeah. Making really elite, really like scarce resources available.
Yes, to
Changes
everybody.
a person's life. Absolutely.
Like for what you guys do, what you do, this whole conversation of, and we're going to go further here, is like people need access to this. Like,
Wow.
but a lot of them are like, oh, I can't afford a therapist. Like,
Yeah.
how do we help them? How do you heal the church?
Yeah.
Because the biggest way that the church is going to make an impact, you keep saying it, is they got to be healthy. The
Yeah.
people in the leadership of the church have to be healthy. And we're not just talking about actual physical health. We're talking about spiritual health, emotional health.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not just talking about like having right theology, but we're having really whole and integrated hearts.
Yeah.
Where we're self-aware, we're self-honest, we can see ourselves truthfully. Like everything we do in a program like Restored is about taking parts of ourselves that we've lied about, parts of ourselves that we've divorced because they're too painful,
Yeah.
it's too scary to face, and we're just showing that, man, with the support of a good community and the empowerment of the Holy Spirit, we can face anything.
Yes.
And so like something like the Awaken Counseling Center that we're working on, it's going to be a place where we take therapists who've gone through graduates training, right? They're in the licensure process, and we make them available on a nonprofit level. So, I mean, it'll probably be like $40 or $50 a session, something
Yep.
like that. And we make that available to anybody, or anybody in the church or anybody in the community, which in that sense, it'll be a trade-off, right? You're getting a more trained person, but you're getting them at the beginning of their career.
Right.
And
But you're getting something.
but you're getting, you're
way
getting
more than what you can do on your own.
somebody with quite a bit of training to be able to be that kind of like that safe space that we were talking about. Like most of us have great friends, but we don't have friends that actually know how to listen without injecting and getting in the way of our own healing process, because they love us too much and they haven't dealt with their stuff.
They haven't dealt with their stuff.
They haven't dealt with their stuff, and what I don't deal with, inevitably I will put in your pot. And then the other side of that is just developing a more robust and a more thorough way of really training and empowering lay counselors, pastoral counselors, the people
Yeah.
where, man, like if Sarah and I were in crisis, the first place that I think God wants us to have been able to have gone, the first place would have been to go to our pastor and say, we're broken, and him to have connected us
Right.
with somebody like peers who are healthy and thriving and have done their work and have overcome brokenness, to have a resource to sit with them. We do a lot of like sophisticated theory and intervention to address kind of complex needs in therapy. But I feel like most of what people do in therapy, I don't know what 60-70% of what people do in therapy, you don't need some like highly trained master's
Right.
or doctorate.
Yeah.
You just need a safe place to process, because God designed our brain and our nervous system to heal. We get in the way of that process.
Yeah.
And so what is 60-70% of what a good counselor is doing is they're just giving you a safe place to process through so you can hear your own lie and you can correct it.
Yeah.
That happens naturally. And then obviously there's conditions that make that really hard with acute trauma and other things. But that's not most people.
No.
Yeah.
No. And it's beautiful. I love this where you're going with this.
Mm.
It's absolutely fantastic. Because I mean, like the percentages and it's, I hate to say this, but with the phone and social media,
Yeah.
things are only going to get worse, man.
Yeah.
As far as mental health goes, I'm sorry, I'm going there.
It's
but
true.
It's way, way worse and worse and worse because we're all, like you said, the quick dopamine fix I can get on just by scrolling for a few minutes, desensitized to everything else. Kids aren't even being like our kids are like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
24/7.
That to me, like handing a kid an unregulated device with like social media on it is literally, for a 14-year-old or a 13-year-old, that's handing them a loaded gun. Their brain is not equipped to put brakes on. My brain in my 40s it has a difficult
Barely.
time putting brakes on.
Yeah.
A 13-year-old brain that like the prefrontal cortex hasn't even fully connected yet. They have no chance. Their identity is forming. They're so vulnerable, and you're seeing obviously like it's reflected in the research
Yeah.
egregiously, like rates of anxiety are skyrocketing. Never in history have we had the rates of anxiety in adolescents and young, like early development, young adult, depression,
suicide.
Never in history have we had these rates. And of course, we don't want to vilify something like a piece of technology. Like, the core issue is not the phone. The core issue is parents don't know how to parent. And we also in the same sense that we have the first generation entering adulthood that were raised on cell phones, we also have the first, lab, the first cohort of parents where we have actually a test case where we can study, like, when you give a parent who's struggling with their own anxiety and their own wounds and their own insecurities, and they're overwhelmed in their marriage and they're overwhelmed in their work and their finances are stressful, what do? They check out largely.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, for the first time we have that data, and we can see, like, these things need to be treated as obviously incredible opportunities to reach the world and connect with each other.
Yep.
Also as incredibly dangerous weapons, for sure.
Incredible. All right, so let's talk about the foundation of a marriage. Like, do you meet people? Are you meeting people? They're already into marriage. They're having issues. Most of your clients.
Yeah.
Like, you're rarely meeting them in the beginning, right?
Yeah, I kind of redirect premarital counseling now.
You do?
Yeah, most premarital counseling is a little too boring for me. Like, people come in, they've got rose-colored glasses on. You ask them, like, tell me about your fight. And they're like, oh, we don't really fight. You're like, okay, you haven't met each other yet. Come back when you've been married for 6 months and you've had some blowouts. That's not always the case. I'll make exceptions when somebody comes in and is like, hey, we've been dating for a while and some really hard stuff has come up. We feel really stuck. Okay, you're ready to do deeper work. I'll work with you. But most of the time, like you said, really establishing the marriage maybe at least 6 months to 3 years in. Oftentimes, obviously, people don't seek support until somewhere between like 7 and 11 years into their marriage.
Really?
Yeah, we stay and we keep trying to break the cycle with the same tool for many, many years, which just accumulates more and more wounds. But that's the most common person.
Do you know the year mark? Like, at what point you've got the quote unquote honeymoon stage, when things start to the ish starts hitting the fan a little bit? Like, do you have a stage of what the normal trans?
Yeah, there are four places. If you look at the life cycle of a marriage, like in a really, really large sample pool, you're going to see 3 years, 7 years, 11 years, and 21 years are going to be spikes of instability. So 3 years, we kind of talk about that as like the honeymoon stage has had enough time to wear off. It probably wore off a year or 2 years ago. The rose-colored glasses came off 2 years ago, but now we've been living without those glasses for 2 years, and it gets to the point where like some of that accumulated resentment or pain or anger or hurt starts to bubble over. 7 years is where we see the first spike in people questioning the future of the marriage.
Yeah.
Statistically, 11 years is actually one of the most common times where people get divorced. They really have lost hope. And then after 11 years, the most frequent year that a couple will get divorced is 21.
21?
So what happens in a lot of marriages, somewhere around 18 or 20 years into a marriage, is the kids have grown. And then 21, we don't have that buffer anymore. Yeah.
Wow. How many marriages that come to you, they're hanging on by, you can tell they're hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
And they're hanging on just for the kids. Have you heard that? Do they admit that to you? Do they say that to you?
That's hard to admit. That actually takes quite a bit of trust building. Yeah, it takes quite a bit of like, we have to build quite a big foundation before they'll acknowledge, man, their real motivation. They actually want to leave. Their real motivation is they don't want to take the financial hit, or they don't want to accept the devastating blow that it'll take to the kids. So they're trying to prevent one of those two things.
Yeah.
And right, if healing is first and foremost about integrating what's real, it's about integrating the authentic parts of me and just bringing them together and letting the whole work itself out, then it's really hard to heal if I won't acknowledge that that's where I'm starting. Often we try and change things without acknowledging them, and that almost never works. So it's usually, I don't know, maybe like 3, 5, 7 sessions in, somebody will be like, man, well, honestly, if I'm going to be really honest with you, like, yeah, let's try that. If I'm going to be really honest with you, I probably would have left a long time ago if it wasn't for the kids. Okay. So let's start there.
Can you pick up on it earlier though? Are you just waiting for
For
me to
sure.
say it?
For sure. When people
Do you go
aren't-
there sometimes like, guys, are you holding on for the kids?
No,
Or
because
do you let them?
oftentimes when you can see something really clearly and you tell them before they're ready to name it, they'll actually reject it. They'll actually say no, not really, or this or that. And then once they've rejected it, they've actually built a kind of mental scaffold for themselves. And so when they're ready to say that 2 weeks later, there's going to be internal resistance to saying it because they've already said it's not true, which is why, something like lay counseling is so important, because it's understanding these really simple things. Even if you see something, unless you feel really confident in a directive sense, you're going to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
Let them name it.
Let them name it.
Give them
Yeah.
the space, because it's in the discovery, the acknowledgement, and the naming of the thing that they are actually changed. And so it's the person saying for the first time in his adult life, actually, if I'm really honest with myself, if it wasn't for the kids, I would have left. I've just taken ownership of something I was too scared to take ownership before. Now, from a place of ownership, just kind of like me saying to Sarah, I feel like you've been emotionally abusive. Now that I've said it out loud, I can own that. Do I actually agree with it? No, I don't actually believe that that's true. But now we can wrestle through something because I've taken ownership of it. And so it'll be maybe session 5 or session 7 that'll come out. And now it's like, okay, more of the person's in the room and we can do deeper work. Because what mostly happens is we reach, nobody gets divorced. You know, they say like the top 3 reasons people get divorced is money, sex, and communication. And you say, okay, those are the topics that trigger the condition that causes divorce. But nobody gets divorced over money, sex, and communication. People get divorced because they lose hope. Our brain was designed by God to bond at a very deep level, and we don't let go of that bond easily. Our nervous system wants to fight like hell to protect that bond. We were designed for lifelong bonds. God was designed, I would actually say we were designed for eternal bonds.
Yeah.
So when somebody says, oh, we got married because we couldn't work out our finances, or we couldn't work out our sex life, we couldn't work out communication, we say, oh, that was just the pinch point. Money was where you guys kept getting into a fight, which caused you to lose hope that you could ever change it. It wasn't what caused the marriage. When we lose hope, that's when we're in a really dangerous place. And by coming in, and maybe on session 5 or session 7, you acknowledge, if it wasn't for the kids, I would have already left. What I'm acknowledging is I've actually already lost hope.
Yeah.
I'm holding on not because I have hope. I'm holding on because I'm avoiding a secondary loss. But the thing that it empowers me to do is, okay, we need to deal with hope then. Let's not worry about the finances first.
Yeah.
Let's deal with hope. Do you want hope? Like, how do we restore that? And then from that place, man, the attempt to like work through finances or work through our sex or work through our communication is radically different when you come from a place of, man, we've been really stuck and you've been hurting and I've been hurting. And because of that hurt, we show up in really ugly ways, but that doesn't actually represent us. From that posture, you can do incredible change.
Yeah.
But if I'm harboring, what's the point? Nothing's going to change. But I won't say that out loud. And we keep trying to work it out. I'm operating from a belief system that says this won't work. And shockingly, of the 4 factors, when they do studies like that are factors of predictive change, what actually causes people to create change in their therapeutic process? The factors are what we would call theory or interventions. That makes up about 15% of therapeutic change. That accounts for 15%.
Was theory and what?
Theory and intervention.
What does that mean?
The fancy therapeutic footwork that the therapist does. Things like, I want you to picture your inner child. I want you to talk to them. What are they saying to you? Like these interventions and the theory that we use to guide the process accounts for about 15% of change. The therapeutic alliance, meaning the level of trust that we build, that accounts for about 40% of therapeutic
40%.
change. Against the 15, which is like all the fancy schoolwork that I do.
Yeah.
30% is another 15% is accounted for by what we call client factors, which are things that the therapist has no control over, right? Like the fact that you're in poverty, or the fact that you have secrets, or the fact that you have an addiction, like these factors that we have no control over. And then lastly, approximately 30% is accounted for by, I just lost track of what we were talking about a second ago. Oh, client expectations.
Client expectations.
30% of therapeutic outcomes are determined by whether or not the client expects it to work. That accounts for about 30% of change. So, which is why if you're working with a good counselor, they're not going to try and jump into the problems and fix them. The first thing that they're going to do is they're going to deal with belief systems and expectations. We have to adjust that, which is exactly getting to watch Sarah go through Pathfinders.
Interesting.
It's exactly what Pathfinders does.
Yeah.
Pathfinders, they have all of these experiences that help you think strategically and problem solve, but that's really not the focus of Pathfinders. The focus of Pathfinders is the belief system that you can succeed.
Yes.
The belief system that with God you can accomplish something. You guys attack that left and right from beginning to end. It's so beautiful to hear these like assignments that she got going through that process. You're like, I can see what that's really about. That's not about the strategic thing that the actual thing you're producing is.
Right.
It's about whether or not I believe that I can do this.
Yeah.
Whether or not I believe Brian is capable of building something meaningful. And that's what we do in therapy too. Yeah.
Incredible. Okay. So, what about, oh gosh, I had so many questions coming up. The sex thing.
Yeah.
What's that all about? I heard marriages, once you get past 5 years, 10 years, it becomes almost non-existent.
Oh
a
my
sexless
gosh.
marriage. Can we touch on this?
There might be more lies in our culture about really healthy sex than almost anything else having to do with marriage. There might be more lies and just misconceptions about that. Because what you see if you look at a graph of kind of the normative journey of fulfillment in a marriage, it looks like a big spike. Everybody's really excited in the first 3 years of the marriage, first maybe 1 to 3 years of marriage. And then somewhere around 3 to 5, you see this sharp dip. Somewhere between like 5, 7, and 10, it goes down. And then after that, largely, statistically, most couples, you see this massive up and to the right after that because they've gone through this kind of grieving and acceptance process, right? Like their beliefs and expectations about what marriage is have been shaken and reformed, and now they're ready to just love the other person as they are and just up and to the right. What we believe about sex is what you just said a second ago. In fact, I was working with a really incredible young man just in the last couple of weeks who kind of came in and he named it really explicitly. He's like, he's been struggling with, porn addiction for years. He got married. He expected getting married to like take all of this away. All it did, and it did for a couple of months. And then immediately he's back into the pornography. And one of the things that was revealed really quickly in our working together is a really deep belief system that sexual gratification, sexual intensity comes from novelty. Sexual gratification and fulfillment comes from something being new and novel, which is obviously a very powerful source of sexual arousal is novelty. God gave us this like really fun way to bond sexually by like craving something that we haven't had access to before. It activates this bonding process. It's really fun. It's really intense. But far and away, that is nowhere near the highest level of sexual fulfillment. In fact, what you see is after 7 years, healthy marriages will tell you that sex gets better and better and better and better until they're no longer physically capable, which like that really fulfilling sex life can last into your 70s and 80s easily.
Wow.
And so it's completely backwards.
And why does that happen? Do you know why that? I think you explained it briefly, but like how that happens, why that happens,
why the trend upward goes.
Yeah.
Once we've gotten to the place where we've gone, our beliefs about the marriage have been tested by like 5 to 7 years of like real life, and we've been healthy enough, supported enough, mentored enough to like actually reshape those beliefs. So now our expectations about what marriage is going to do for me is realistic. Now I get to come into sexual intimacy, and the gratification comes from the connection to that person, instead of from the belief that what's powerful is novelty or new or us trying a new position. All that stuff is fun. But when we understand that the power of sex is in the connection to the other person, sex gets supercharged. And in fact, one of the most kind of powerful interventions is so shockingly simple, I don't think people would ever arrive at it themselves. Like if you've been really struggling in your sex life, maybe the husband has like a history of like struggling with stuff, and there's anxiety now attached to it, and like what you commonly see with pornography is because there is this unnatural string of novelty, and it's all insulated by, there's no actual human contact, which means there's no body odor, there's no fluids, there's nothing actual organic or visceral about it. And men can spend so long experiencing sexual gratification only in that form, that when they actually have sex with a living, breathing woman, their body is like flooded with stimulus, and their body actually rejects things that they would normally crave, like the smell of the person's body, or the touch and the texture of what sex is actually like. And so what you find when we can't address sexual intimacy if there's any sort of ongoing addiction or compulsion. We have to address the addiction first.
Right.
But once that's been addressed, and now we're really struggling to sexually connect, what you'll do is you actually take sex off the table. You take orgasm off the table, and you say, what I want you to do is I want you to make time 3 to 5 times a week. I want you guys to lay in bed together for like 15 minutes, and I want you to touch each other, but no sexual touch. This process is what we call sensate focus. It's a process of restoring the nervous system's natural responsiveness to sex. And so what we do is we start by, I want you to get as undressed as you are comfortable, and I want you to just touch each other, but totally non-sexual, nothing erogenous, and no genitalia. And then after you do that for a while, and they go through the process, like, oh man, because what they're going to come back and they're going to tell you is like, that felt really weird. That caused a lot of anxiety. I was in my head. I was wondering what they were thinking, blah, blah. And like, oh, okay, this is actually what makes sex hard. So they'll stay there for a while to where that becomes enjoyable. Like, oh, it feels really relaxing to do this for 15 minutes now. Now we're going to go to the next stage, and we're going to include some erogenous zones, but we're not going to touch our explicitly sexual parts. Like
You actually coach.
We'll walk through this over months.
Wow.
And then they'll run into the same thing. Oh my gosh, as soon as I touched this part of her body, or she touched me this way, it's like all that anxiety came back. And what we're doing is we're revealing the coding process that happened through years of pornographic conditioning. We're revealing the anxiety that got installed with actual human intimacy. And so we stay there until the anxiety wanes, and then we go to the next step, and it gets more sexual, and then we go to the next step. And so there's 5 stages of that, none of which I'm going to allow you during sensate focus. You can have sex outside of sensate focus.
Yeah.
But during sensate focus, these sessions, you're not allowed to have sexual intercourse. And so what you're doing is you're reminding the body how good it feels to feel connected to a person, which activates the natural arousal process. And then you're withholding the fulfillment of it. And you're letting your body remember the craving. And when you take that and you go through that whole process, you restore sexual intimacy. Now, when we take all of those boundaries away and we just return to normal sex life, what we've trained our nervous system to do is we anticipate connection. We don't anticipate sexual gratification. We're not going like, how can we make this exciting or different or new? It's going to feel so good to be with you.
Yeah.
And our body is trained towards a different stimulus, and it's trained towards a different focus, a different expectation. And that's when you see, man, the longer people are married, the more safe they feel with each other, the more adventurous they get. And the more you'll see these like really intense epochs of stimulus, right? You say like, oh, maybe 60, 70% of our sex life is pretty routine. 20% of it is like really good. And then every once in a while, we just get blindsided by these moments that feel like we get transcended to another place. You only experience that kind of sexual connection in really sustained, stable monogamy. We only get access to that place.
That's it.
Yeah.
Wow. How common do people have this quote unquote issue? Because circles, guys, girls, I hear my husband and I, we're not having sex anymore. He won't even, she won't do this. He won't, I hear it all the time, everywhere.
All the time. It's incredibly common. Even couples that like everywhere else in the marriage, they're doing really well. They're emotionally connected. They believe in each other. They parent great together. They love each other. But man, we have sex like once every 3 months. Yeah. It's incredibly common. I don't know what a statistic would be on that. I would guess upwards of 70% of couples have some sort of sexual struggle. Yeah. And that's I bet you that differs quite a bit in different populations. So inside the church, you probably have a higher propensity of sexual challenges that are caused by religious shame. But overall, I bet you have a lower propensity of sexual struggle than outside of the church. The reason for that being, outside of the church, we have a lot less boundaries. Yeah. which means we walk through a lot more experimentation, and we come into marriage with a much broader set of incorrect beliefs, right? Like this young man who actually loves the Lord. He's an incredible young guy, but in the first 3 sessions of him really kind of reflecting on and digging deep into his own sexuality, he realizes, oh man, got this core belief that sexual fulfillment comes from novelty. And now, being 2 years married, my brain is like, I'll never feel sexually satisfied again. We've got to find some way to make this different and new every single time, and it causes all this anxiety. We get in the way, and our nervous system forgets how to do what it does naturally. Yeah.
Wow. And then you get in and you do that same thing with everybody that has these issues. You do the
we don't start there.
Yeah.
We want to make sure there are no other roadblocks.
Right.
Like issues with pornography, issues with emotional unsafety, like emotional manipulation.
What if they were just not attracted to, like sexually attracted to each other anymore? That's a thing, right? What if they say, I don't want to?
Bro, that's to me like that's another one of the misconceptions is we think of the power of attraction as being a factor in the other person. I find you attractive because of something you have. That's a very, very immature understanding of attraction, right? That's like a novelty version of attraction. Like I saw Sarah across the room and I could see that she was a kind of classically beautiful woman, but I'm surrounded by women that are attractive in that sense. Things like healthy, mature attraction are no longer based on appearance. It's based on really emotional safety. And so when a couple comes in and says like, man, or maybe it's more commonly to get that report, it's one and not the other. So like one spouse will say, I just don't have any sex drive, or I just don't feel attracted to them anymore. You say, okay, the first thing we want to, don't worry about that. We'll come back to that. We want to focus on how do you feel connected to them everywhere else, right?
Yeah.
Like how valued do you feel by them? How understood? Do you feel like you can go to them with stress and get real comfort there? How do you guys connect? How do you laugh together? Because if we address those other forms of connection, we're going to see attraction creep back in. And then in some cases, when they've been stuck there for a long time, we might restore all those other factors and the arousal is still stagnant. That's when we're going to say, okay, don't worry about it. Don't, something I say in couples work, particularly when it comes to sex all the time, is like, don't make it weird. Don't make this one factor mean something. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on just really safe touch. Because if we can just get reasonably undressed, nothing sexual about it, and we're just going to caress each other's arm, I'm going to stroke your hair, we're going to do these things that we naturally do when we're dating, and our bodies are just like going crazy, I want to be close to you, and I don't have any excuse, I'm just going to stroke your thumb as I'm holding your hand in the movie theater, or I'm just going to stroke your hair as you're sitting next to me on the couch. All of those kind of micro behaviors, what they do is they're activating more and more dopamine, and serotonin is flooding our system, and what our that's like a neurotransmitters, I think of them as the language of the nervous system.
Yeah.
Your nervous system speaks neurotransmitter. So I think, okay, what does dopamine mean in language form? It's the transmitter of desire.
Yep.
My nervous system is speaking desire when I touch you and I don't fulfill it with sexual gratification. When I experience something like serotonin or oxytocin on a very real level, what my nervous system is speaking is safety. I'm safe
connection.
Here, connected to you. And when we deepen the bond, we activate desire, and desire unfulfilled is like one of the funnest things that we can have. And so learning how to do that, make space for it, return to something like, there's actually incredible ways to restore novelty in a really healthy sense is through play and flirtation. Learning how to do that with our spouse, learning how I'm going to start the romantic night I want to have with you in 8 hours. I'm going to start it before lunchtime, and I'm just going to send you some flirtatious texts. We start to activate these things really early, and that's when you have those, like I said, those 30% or those 10% experiences where it's really intense. There's a lot of ways to infuse really healthy novelty within the boundaries of safe covenant. Yeah.
And I would, so it sounds like, do a lot of your therapy sessions, clients, this has to come up a lot.
It comes up a lot. It's usually a later stage issue. Because like you were saying, a lot of couples will come in a relational crisis.
Yeah.
And the first thing you have exceptions where a husband will be like kind of mildly emotionally abusive, and he'll just like have this really intense narrative about the wife, and she's like not a good wife and she doesn't meet my needs, and he'll come in hot about sex. Most of the time they come in really scared and really angry about the relationship, and then sex comes later once the relationship has started to stabilize and once they've started to heal some of that stuff. So it comes up later, but it comes up a lot.
So if you could give some pearls right now to couples or wannabe, quote unquote, married couples, or people that want to be married someday.
Oh, sure.
In the beginning, what is the best way of building a foundation? Let's say the friendship, the engagement, once you're engaged, prior to getting married, can you give them some things to do in the beginning to make sure that you give them the best chance, the best runway of being a successful, harmonious marriage later?
So good. First one, like we've hit on very hard, is if I am seriously dating somebody, engaged, definitely married, any of those stages, I want us as a couple to be seriously rooted in some community.
Okay.
I want a couple of other couples who, hey, I would go to them explicitly. I was like, hey, we're getting really serious. Me and Joe, or me and Sarah are really getting serious. We want a mentor that we can come to with our stuff. We want somebody who feels comfortable asking us questions. Would you be willing to do that? And I might have not just one, I might have 2 or 3 of those couples in my life.
Yeah.
People whose marriages I want to grow to be like. That would be the first thing. The second thing is I tell people, man, shake the tree early, meaning like don't bury little hurts and little frustrations, which is what we tend to do in the honeymoon stage. It's definitely what we tend to do during like dating, because I'm trying to woo you. I'm like, that's not that important. I don't, that doesn't really bother me. It's going to bother you 6 months after you get married. Shake the tree early, and shake the tree knowing some of those times it's going to be challenging you to grow. All of those times it's going to be challenging me to grow. So like if Sarah does something, that really bothers me, shaking the tree early is me being brave enough to say, hey, this has happened a couple of times, and I notice myself feeling unimportant. I notice myself feeling kind of disregarded. I notice myself feeling really frustrated. I'm bringing my emotion to you with ownership. I'm owning the emotion. You didn't cause the emotion. Your behavior impacted me. So, but you didn't cause my emotion. My algorithm caused my emotion, right? My life experience, my conditioning, all that code caused the emotion. I'm just trying to bring it to you to work this out. 100% of that time, I want to walk to you with the expectation that this is forming me. Some of that time, I want to walk to you with the expectation that you're going to be responsive and say, oh man, I can totally appreciate that. Really wasn't that considerate of me to like make plans for us without checking with you first. I'm sorry about that. I'm really going to work on that, right? Some of those times it's going to impact you, not impact you, it's going to shape you. All of the time it's going to shake me. So community, shake the tree early. And I would say as early as you can, have some plan for growth, whether that's like reading a book together.
Yeah.
I would definitely say like once you get engaged, definitely I wouldn't wait for crisis to hit. That's what Sarah and I did. That's what I feel like 90% of couples do, is we wait until Dr. Matt just confronted me about this a couple weeks ago, where I was getting adjusted, and it's been a really long time since I got adjusted. Obviously Dr. Matt is our chiropractor, and he commented, or I commented on I commented on the fact that it had been a long time.
Yeah.
And then I made this comment about, it's like, the thing is, I
feel good.
Fine 90% of the time. He said, you're not fine.
Yeah.
He said, it's just under threshold, right? It's within your level of tolerance, but you're not fine. He can literally see me walking around and can see
no, it's wrong. Yeah.
Exactly. That my pelvis is rotated.
Every time I'm in there, ribs out, scapula's
Exactly.
off. Bro, what are you doing here?
And I wait until I can't stand up straight anymore.
Yeah.
And then I think, there might be something wrong. And I go get adjusted. So we do that with our marriages. I think we get so acclimated to having pain and having things that we can't talk about and having frustrations. Frustration and pain will predictably grow into resentment. That's actually a healthy emotional system. The emotional system is doing what it's supposed to do. Obviously, resentment isn't a sign of psychological health. There's something I'm not dealing with. But if I don't deal with it, emotional health will convert frustration and pain into resentment over time. Resentment, you might describe it as the emotion of I can't bring something to you. You can't tolerate. It's the emotion of over-functioning. So if I treat you as if I can't bring something to you, my emotional system is going to reflect that, and I'm going to live in this world where it's like, oh, I'm over-functioning. Either I do more than you do in our life, or I do more than you do emotionally, something like that. So have a growth plan. I would say, like, get in with some really good mentors, like pastoral counseling, read books together, and at the first sign of a conflict or a pain point is recurring, go see a professional, man. I say go see somebody who knows, and don't just go see a counselor. I would go see, ideally somebody who somebody else knows, a personal referral. Ideally somebody who knows Christ, because mental health as a field goes all sorts of weird directions. So you want somebody whose theory is checked by good theology. And then lastly, if at all possible, I would go to see somebody who practices what we call EFT, or emotionally focused couples therapy, because it is a framework that understands healthy adult attachment. So it's a clinical training you can get in the secular world that not only aligns with the truth of God, but it actually gives us a framework. It's not going to tell you like, oh, you're unfulfilled because you evolved over millions of years to want lots and lots of sexual partners or something. It's going to eliminate all that junk on a clinical level. So EFT, Christian ideally, and if at all possible, a personal referral where somebody else can say, yeah, I've worked with them, or I know somebody who's worked with them and they're good.
I love it, dude. I absolutely love it. Okay, so all right, we'll land the plane here soon.
So much good stuff, man.
Oh gosh, so good, so good. So the ones that are, let's give somebody. I had another one. What was I going to get at? I'll go to this one first. So they're, I don't know how many years in, and they're know that there's an issue. Before going to, like, let's say they don't have the means to go to therapy. They're like literally broke. There's financial issues. How can they start tackling this themselves if right now they know their marriage is like, let's call it what do they call it? A dry marriage, a dead end marriage, or what are they calling it when it's like
most people are going
hopeless marriage?
Feel really stuck.
Yeah, a stuck
really
marriage.
Stuck marriage. Yeah.
What do they do? Like, where do they start? What's the best thing they can do?
Probably takes us back to the most critical. And if you think God designed the church to be the individual follower of Christ's primary hospital. He designed the church to meet the needs of the body of Christ. That's, I think, God's vision. So the first place I would go is, man, go to your local church, the community. If you're not involved in one, man, what a huge diagnostic feedback loop is that your marriage is telling you, ooh, not just the marriage might be needing an adjustment. We need community in our life.
Yeah.
If you, let's say you're not a follower of Christ, you're not involved in a church, man, I would definitely get involved in some sort of community where you can have like real healthy peers because man, we work out so many problems by laughing about those challenges.
Yeah,
like when
totally.
when we go on double dates with other couples and we laugh about things that if we kept them private for too long would be real sources of pain, anger, fear. When we're able to like talk to another couple and they say, oh yeah, me too, it loses like 90% of its power on us. So we're really designed to like work these things out in community. There's a really phenomenal book. This is predominantly for the follower of Christ. There's a secular version of the book that's also tremendously good. Sue Johnson, who is the architect of EFT, the model that I'm specialized in, she wrote a book called Hold Me Tight. That's going to be a secular version. It's a really good book. It's just not faith integrated. Same book, co-written with a pastor, is called Created for Connection. Those two books are phenomenal roadmaps. If you're feeling stuck, you don't have access to a therapist, a book is like $12 or something. And what I would do is I would get that book and then I would find another friend, another couple who will go through that book with you. Is it going to be helpful to go through it privately, just you and your husband, just you and your wife? 100% it'll be helpful. It'll be good. The problem is we tend to radically underestimate the impact of our pain on our ability to do constructive communication, right? When people come in and they say, we want to learn communication skills, the first thing I'm going to tell you is, no, you don't. I don't teach communication skills because when you're not in pain, you have all the communication skills that you need, or you wouldn't have gotten to marriage. You dated because you had good communication skills. That means when she was telling a story, you leaned in and you were interested. When she told you something hard, you empathized and you said, "That's terrible, man. I'm so sorry that happened to you," or whatever. We've got good communication skills. The problem is we don't understand the impact of emotion in these moments. So that's why if it's possible to go through a book like that with another couple, it's really helpful. It does a couple of things. A, we get an external mirror, because when we're really polarized, a husband and wife, we stop trusting the mirror. So like if I get really charged and my husband says to me or my wife says to me like, "Man, you feel super defensive right now," I'm going to reject that feedback because I don't trust you on an emotional level. If my friend says, "Hey, Brian, you seem pretty defensive right now, bro," it's going to be a lot harder for me to reject that feedback. And we also tend to be on better behavior when we're around other people. So it keeps the train from picking up too much momentum and going off the tracks. So if I don't have access to a good therapist, find the healthiest couple you can. Say, "Hey, we're really struggling. We're going to go through this book. Would you be willing to go through this book with us?"
Wow.
And just have some constructive conversations. Because what we want to do is the healing plan, the plan to restoring a marriage is, first thing we want to do is we want to map the problem. We want to map this emotional dance that we keep doing back and forth when, you see socks on the floor and it triggers a pain that you've experienced a million times, that you can't rely on him, and you feel really alone. And then out comes criticism. He hears criticism and he's like, "Nothing's ever good enough for you." He feels defensive. He feels like he's failing. Back comes this dismissive, defensive response, and we escalate. What we want to do before we solve the sock problem, what we want to do.
I'm laughing because there isn't a guy listening to this that doesn't go through the sock thing.
Exactly.
There's just not one. Not one.
We want to actually be able to look at the dance and say, "That's what we do." You feel alone, and out comes criticism. I feel defense. I feel not good enough. I feel attacked, and out comes defensiveness. When we can see the dance that we do, when we can see it, we realize you're not the enemy. That thing is, which is what the book helps you do. It's what we do in therapy too. And the degree to which we can do that with other people is really
give me the name of the books again. The secular one is
Hold Me Tight.
Hold Me Tight.
Or Love Sense is another good book, also written by Sue Johnson. The one that I really love, I use a lot because it integrates the Christian faith, is called Created for Connection.
Created for Connection.
By Sue Johnson. The pastor's name is Pastor Ken something. I can't remember his last name.
Love that. Okay, so we're gonna here's what we're gonna end on. The thing that I think every single couple needs probably some of the most help with.
Oh, okay.
We'll go through some. I'm gonna throw the volley to you is to, because I've heard you do this before, is let's help couples listening to this conflict resolution. Give me some A to Z real quick bullet points on what to, like, every time we're fighting, whenever we fight, we can't get out of the same fight. How do we resolve this? We're always butting heads. One will never let down. The other one doubles down. We'll never concede.
Yeah, we get into these really defended postures.
Correct.
So the first thing we want to do is you want to learn how, we want to figure out some way to flag.
First of all, is conflict in a marriage? I remember going to the marriage getaway.
Yeah.
And it was the one main takeaway I took from the one that we went to. It was the main takeaway is, if you're fighting, your marriage is working.
Is working, yes.
Because, okay, so with that said, that means your marriage is working. If you're not fighting, I'll never forget Leanne, there's a dictator in the relationship.
Ooh, exactly. Yeah.
If you never have fights, one of you is a dictator, most likely the husband.
One of them feels silenced and rolled over, and oftentimes the other person will be like, "We're great."
Yeah.
But a healthier,
right.
A healthier,
we're great. We never fight.
I let him know what we need, and he tells me that I'm right. Like that works for me. But yes, so what that means is, that's a great thing. We were just in Salt Lake City at the marriage getaway earlier this year, and we were using that phrase when you're
fighting in your marriage, or you're arguing, fighting.
When you're fighting, your marriage is working.
Yeah.
And they said, "Is that really true? What does that mean?" It's like, okay, let's pause and define what that means. What that means is, in the same sense that if you went to a physical therapist because you injured your shoulder, and the physical therapist examined every other part of your body and said, "Do you feel pain here? Do you feel pain here? Do you feel pain here?" And you said, No. Okay, you're good. And then you walked out. You'd be so frustrated. You're like, I told you my shoulder is hurting. And he said, well, if it's hurting, let's not trigger the pain. No, that's not how things heal. So we go into marriage thinking that we should somehow be able to heal wounds without feeling discomfort. And what the marriage is going to do is that anything that we avoid owns us. And so the marriage becomes the mirror that reflects back to me my insecurities. It reflects back to me my ego. It reflects back to me my toxic beliefs. It reflects them back to me in this really intense emotional proximity. And so that's why we want to say all we mean by that is the marriage has an agenda for you, and it is your wholeness. And it's not going to turn a blind eye to a part of your life where you're owned by fear or trauma. It's not gonna ignore those things. It loves you too much. So when stuff comes to the surface, your marriage is working just means that we can welcome the disruption without going into hopelessness. We can say, okay, this sucks, obviously. When we're fighting, and especially when we're having the same fight again and again and again, it feels hopeless. Like that's a horrible thing to go through. The first thing we have to learn how to do is we have to learn how to like throw up the red or the yellow flag. Which means is when we have that fight over and over again, we want to learn how to cue to the other person. I help couples make up a code word. So like we'll be kind of in the early stages of mapping their cycle, their polarization cycle, their fear cycle. And I say, man, as we map this out, and it'll sound something like what I was describing before, right?
Yeah.
Like you see the sock and you feel alone, out comes criticism. As you're mapping this out, what image comes to mind? And people will say, I picture like a lion, or I picture a tornado, or I had one Navy SEAL who said, you know what this feels like? It feels like Pop Smoke. And I was like, what does that mean? So like, okay, when he's out with his men and they're actually in like a war zone and they get overwhelmed by enemy fire, there's going to be some point where somebody gives the command to pop smoke, and they're going to release a smoke grenade, and they're going to retreat under the cover of that smoke grenade. And he says, man, when Sarah, his wife's name was Sarah, when Sarah gets really, really frustrated, really critical, or she feels controlling to me, man, all my brain says is pop smoke. Get out of here. Pull away. Which leaves her even more terrified that she really is deeply alone. So they called their cycle pop smoke. A code word is helpful because a code word reminds both of us the cycle is hitting.
Yeah.
You're not the enemy. The enemy is your fear and my fear are like getting into a wrestling match, and they're trying to up each other, and they're just making each other more scared. Calling it out is the first thing we want to learn how to do. Hey, this feels like we're falling into that stuck cycle, because the message I desperately want my spouse to hear, the message that is going to transform the moment, is you are not the problem. I really want to be available to you, but I can see that these things that we do together, not you, these things that we do together are causing us to not be able to reach each other. So I think a code word is really helpful. But all we're trying to do is we're trying to throw up a yellow flag and say, hey, can we start this over? And then from there, we want to slow the train way, 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 way down. And we want to try, and this is hard, we want to try and name the emotion that's in the room. Say, okay, I can tell that when this comes up, I get really angry. I'm actually naming that to take back the power. I'm not naming that so you know, like, you make me so angry.
Right.
So stop making me angry. I'm naming that to own, I'm bringing a lot of anger into the room, which makes it hard for us to talk. The husband might say, I feel super defensive. I bring defensive into the room, which makes it really hard to talk. So we're gonna call out the cycle. We're gonna try and start over. We're gonna try and go back to the line. We're gonna try and call out. Okay, I can tell that.
Do you literally just say time out? We got a timeout here.
Totally, you can say timeout. A lot of couples will say timeout.
Yeah, I did.
One of the challenges, and the reason I think a silly code word is actually really helpful, is because things like timeout, they have associations with them.
True.
So like often somebody in the marriage will have used the word timeout, and they'll have said like, okay, we need to take a timeout because you're getting too heated.
Yeah.
Not owning the fact they're being super critical and they're charging each other up. Or maybe they'll take a timeout and they'll never come back to it. So the other person associates the word timeout with just like abandonment, and we're just going to bury this thing. So having a silly code word like, oh, this feels like pop smoke, and we know what pop smoke means, can be helpful. We're going to call out the emotion, and then we're going to say, man, what was the trigger event? It was the sock on the floor. All right, this is the absolute pivot moment. This is the thing that will transform conflict into connection. If I can get in touch in me with the deeper pain that sock triggers, and it's so funny, but like probably the biggest form of resistance I get to this is somebody who's like, it's about the sock. No, it's not.
No.
And like, what is that sock? This is one of the
I
helpful.
love that this is the topic, sock.
That sock, yeah, right. Like because it's the most universal.
I'm like
Everybody's
visualizing the socks that I put by the chair in our master bedroom, and she's so upset that I can't bring them over from here to the hamper.
exactly.
That's all I'm visualizing right now.
Most marriages have somebody who's a little bit more tidy and somebody who's a little bit less tidy. Somebody who's a little bit more free spirit. I'm like the big vision entrepreneur in my family, and I'm also the slob in my family. I'm 100% aware of that. Sarah is 1,000% the reason we are not broke. She like keeps our finances in a healthy place. She keeps our home clean. I bring a lot of fun to the family though. It's like we bring different skills.
Yeah. Oh, I justify the sock.
Yeah.
I've been at the shop running the business for 18 hours.
Come on.
You know, it's going to fall where it may. You know,
so what we want to do.
That's not my job to get it over there. Like,
I've done my job.
Oh yeah. I've done my job.
My job was 18 hours.
My clothes fall off where they are.
That's part of the. You know what? Like when we address the deeper issues, sometimes we can actually co-sign on something like that. We could say, you know what? All right, now that we've actually addressed what we're really fighting about, we can. Yeah, you're allowed to put your sock right there, babe. We might actually get there, but and this can be harder. So sometimes a helpful question can be, the obstruction emotion, the emotion that's coming between us, what we call, like I call it our armor, it's often revealed if we ask the question, what does this situation leave me feeling towards you? Defensive, frustrated, angry, resentful. All right, what does this situation leave me feeling about me? It's a much harder question to answer. What does it leave me feeling about me? And we're going to it's going to force us to go a lot deeper. It's going to say, oh man, when I see the sock, I feel like what I say doesn't matter to you. I feel like I can't count on you. I feel really alone. Okay. Now, can I bring that pain to the other person without accusing them? Because if I can do that, every time that pain comes to the surface, our bond is going to get stronger. We're actually going to go to a place where pain cues connection. But those are those steps. We got to be able to master those steps. What we do, 90% of what we do in couples therapy is when that cycle has gotten so reinforced with pain, it takes a lot of scaffolding. It takes a lot of support to be able to like slow the train down, to be able to activate the pain without getting overwhelmed by it, name the deeper emotion, hear what the other person is saying, and really say, I'm here for you. That's all. I mean,
that's it.
If you take the strongest couples in the world, this has been validated by like 15 studies. You take the strongest couples in the world, they can do 4 things. It's really not that complicated. When they're in a fight, they're able to tell you the biggest problem is we're scaring each other. That's the biggest problem in the room. Secondly, they're able to tell you their fear. They are able to acknowledge and hear their partner's fear, and they're able to give each other reassurance. It might be the dumbest, it might be the sock, it might be the dumbest issue, but they can walk you through those 4 steps.
Wow.
That's what the strongest couples in the world can do, and that's what we do in therapy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready? You're gonna land the plane here.
Let's do this.
We're gonna land the plane by you. This just came to me. Giving a charge to couples right now that are listening, or one of the others listening, that's lost hope. Give them hope and give them a charge and inspiration to keep fighting for it.
Man, that's beautiful.
Like how far should they fight? How worth it is to keep the fight going, no matter how bad it looks, whatever's happened. If there's trauma, whatever the case may be, they've fallen out of love, quote unquote. Yeah. But right now they're listening because there's a percentage of people listening or watching right now that have lost hope in their marriage. Yeah. Give them some inspiration and to hold on and keep fighting.
So I'll name 2 things. First, we want, because you so wise, man. We want to talk. We're talking to a lot of people. In different situations. If you're with somebody who has really committed like a very real betrayal, or exhibits some kind of abusive behavior, and you want to fight for your marriage, I want to encourage you to fight for your marriage, but we have to fight for our marriage in a way that if the other person is unwilling or unable to be a safe partner, the marriage can die. We want to fight for our marriage in such a way that if it's unsafe, the marriage will attrition and dissolve. And so what that means is if I think, and we don't want to rush to these conclusions. We rush to diagnoses all the time. I have so many people who come in and say, "Oh, I realize that I married a narcissist." And like, I don't know that that's true. I understand that you're hurt and you're angry. That's all I know for certain. I don't know if your spouse is a narcissist. We diagnose and we come to these conclusions really quickly. If you think that that it's possible that there's some sort of psychological, emotional, or physical abuse, the first thing you got to do is go connect with another person, trusted person. A professional is helpful because they can help you identify those things. We want to fight for our marriages, but we never want to fight for our marriages in a way that preserves something toxic.
Yes. Okay.
And
Got
so
it.
I want to show up in a way that if you're unwilling to meet me in health, the marriage dissolves. Second, is kind of takes us back to what we were talking about a little bit before, man. When we've lost hope, it's usually because there's a very specific kind of pain that we've experienced over and over again for years, usually. And I think we generally fall into, and there's diversity here, but most of us fall into one or two very broad buckets. The pain of feeling intensely alone. The pain of feeling like, man, no matter how hard I try, no matter how I try to tell you about what's wrong, tell you about what I need, tell you about how alone I feel, all I get is dismissal and defensiveness. The hope I want to say to that person is most couples, and I'm not saying that this is yours, but most couples, most husbands, we'll kind of make it concrete, and this applies to men with defensive wives too, but we'll just make it concrete and say, like, most husbands who are really defensive and dismiss your pain, they actually desperately want to be your source of comfort, but they feel so beaten down. They feel like they're failing so badly that you never get to see how much you mean to them. And so if you're feeling that, if you're feeling so alone, like my pain, my needs, my voice just doesn't matter, and what I want to encourage you with is you don't want to walk away from somebody who loves you and is just too buried in this feeling of failure. You want to go talk to another person and let somebody else check in with them and say, man, what do you want? Do you want them to feel alone? Do you want them to feel loved? Let somebody else get that access, because you don't want to walk away from somebody who actually really loves you, but they're buried in this feeling of failure. The other side of that pain, the other thing that I think most often leads us to hopelessness is feeling like I'm never going to be enough for that person. This is the pain I hear in men.
Yeah.
The pain of failure. Pain like no matter what I do, no matter how hard I work, no matter how well I provide, no matter what house I give, it's just never enough. Everything's wrong. It's not good enough. She's critical. She's angry. Nothing's good enough for her. Now, all the anger and the energy tends to go towards the unhappy spouse. All that emotional energy gets directed to that other person, and very rarely are we able to actually pause, check in with ourselves, and say, the reason I want to bail, the reason I feel hopeless is because I feel like I'm never going to be enough to the most important person in my life, and that hurts like hell. It's so painful.
Wow.
Here's what we want to do, is we want to acknowledge the most dangerous thing in this situation is not their criticism. It's not their anger, the way it shows up, or the fact that they might be controlling. The most dangerous thing is the fact that I've been drowning in this feeling of failure so long I've lost hope. So what we want to do is we want to bring this impasse that we're stuck at. We want to just bring it to somebody else. It could be a good pastor, trusted friend, a good counselor. We want to bring it in front of somebody else. And we want to name as vulnerable as we can. Because if I show up super vulnerably, and you tell me that I'm not what you want, then I get to grieve with a clean conscience. But they're probably not going to tell you that. They're going to probably, no, I want you to know that you're enough. I just need to be able to express these things to you. I just need to be able to talk about these hard conversations. So that would be my charge, is like to know that you're not alone, that these pain points that we get like so isolated in and so buried by, they're pretty much universal. The problem is we can't stay in a pain cycle infinitely, forever. At some point, our nervous system is going to say, this is toxic, we got to bail. And usually the exit the nervous system finds is to build up enough resentment and detach from the other person. We call that losing hope.
Yeah.
And then a marriage or a family falls apart when it doesn't need to.
Wow.
Yeah.
So good, dude.
Man, we went deep.
We went deep.
Bro.
This was fantastic. I'm telling you, man.
You're a dangerous man.
This was awesome. just a vessel. I'm just a messenger. Bro, it's been an honor.
Such a pleasure, JD.
Been a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, where can they find you? Give me the name if they need to look you up.
Yeah, you can go to cardinalpointtherapy.com.
There you go.
You can go to Brian Reiswig on Instagram. Just tag at Brian Reiswig and you'll find me. Yeah.
And if you want to come to our church and watch my man throw down from the pulpit, you can
Yeah, I think
too.
I'm speaking on the 23rd of this month.
Oh, you
I'm
really?
in a couple of weeks, yeah.
23rd. It's a Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Sunday, 23rd at San Marcos.
At San Marcos.
San Marcos Awakened Church. Come through. Watch my man throw down.
Fun.
If you haven't had enough, come on through and watch my man from the pulpit.
Love it.
Dr. Brian Reiswig, ladies and gentlemen, Real Deal Talk. That's a wrap.